Chapter 1. Scarlet Fire Town, Long Family. The huge mansion was divided into different areas. Different people with different statuses would have different positions. In the southwest corner, there was a small, broken courtyard. Pong! With a loud bang, the door, which was already in tatters, was viciously smashed by a kick. 3 males and 1 female. 4 youths rushed in. They looked fierce. Before they even arrived, angry roars could already be heard. Longao, you bastard. Do you want to kill us? In the courtyard, a youth with a tall and straight figure, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes was practicing his fist. Every punch he threw out was filled with the might of a tiger. It seemed to have the strength of 100 pounds. Hearing the roars, Longao frowned. His face was filled with disgust. He took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Oh, our family's trash is actually so hardworking. It's really admirable. Pay, ninth brother, can you not disgust me like this? Trash is trash. No matter how hard he works, he's still trash. Have you seen anyone who hasn't condensed inner strength at the age of 18? Nope. Isn't that enough? Our Long family's face has been completely lost by him. If it wasn't for Uncle, this kind of trash would have already been thrown out of the family. The 3 males and 1 female unscrupulously ridiculed Longao. Their faces were filled with disdain and ridicule, as if they were high and mighty. The 4 of them were direct disciples of the Long family. They were Longao, Longzheng, Longfeng, and Longqianqian. Their fathers, Longjin and Longlin, were the younger brothers of Long-yi, Long-yi. The relationship between the 5 of them was self-evident. Longao didn't say anything. His angry eyes showed the anger in his heart. This was because Longao clearly knew that no matter how angry he was, he could only endure it. Otherwise, he would only invite a beating. Hey, look. Old 7 is angry. You scared me to death. Old 7, don't be angry. I'm so scared. Long Fong patted his own chest with a frightened expression. Longao, from now on, you're not allowed to practice my Long family's tyrant dragon art. Why? Grandpa once said that as long as you're a disciple of the Long family, you can cultivate the tyrant dragon art. This time, Longao finally opened his mouth. The tyrant dragon art was his only hope. If he couldn't cultivate it, then he would lose everything. The disdain on Longan's face deepened as he said disdainfully, Grandfather did say so, but it depends on who it is. A trash who can't even condense inner strength, cultivating the tyrant dragon technique, other than embarrassing the Long family. Tell me, what else can you do? He was left speechless by the other party's question because it was true. For a whole 10 years, he was unable to condense his internal strength and had been stuck in the Hotion Third Sky realm. What? Not saying anything? Talking to a piece of trash like you is the greatest insult to me. Let's cut the crap. This time, we're here to settle the score. What accounts? Are you playing dumb with us? Old 7, I really didn't expect that not only are you trash, but you're also a sinister villain. Yesterday, I asked you to clean the ancestral hall. Look at what you did. You caused us to be severely punished by second uncle. Tell me, how should we settle this score? You made a mistake. Cleaning the ancestral hall is your business. Why do you want me to clean it? Since I helped you clean it, why do you still have to be picky? Since you think I didn't clean it well, why don't you clean it yourself? The anger in his heart was like a volcanic eruption, pouring out directly. The 4 people were completely stunned by Longao's rhetorical question. Immediately, the 4 people's faces were filled with anger. Longan smiled coldly and said, What a good eloquence. It seems that old 7's skin is itching again. The 4 people smiled evilly and walked step by step towards Longao. Before Longao could finish his words, the 4 of them had already rushed forward. You punch, I kick, and the sky covered in the earth as they landed on Longao's body. After fighting for a full minute, the 4 of them stopped. Looking at Longao, who was still standing firmly, the 4 people seemed to be moved. However, there was more ridicule and disdain in their eyes. Old 7, don't blame me for not reminding you. If we see that the ancestral hall is not cleaned tomorrow morning, it won't be as simple as a simple beating. At that time, Don't even think about practicing the tyrant dragon art. You can forget about practicing any other martial arts. The four people looked at him with disdain and seemed to be very happy to leave. As the four people's figures gradually disappeared, the four people's laughter could be faintly heard from time to time. Longao stood resolutely. His clothes were tattered from head to toe and were stained with blood. At this moment, Longao seemed to have forgotten the bursts of pain coming from his body, because the anger and unwillingness in his heart were the greatest pain. Longao clenched his fists tightly. His 10 fingers pierced into his flesh, but he didn't know. He kept asking himself in his heart, why is this happening? Longao knew that he was constantly being humiliated and beaten up, but he didn't dare to fight back. All of this was because his strength wasn't enough. If he could condense his inner strength and achieve an endless cycle, would they still dare to do this? Strength, strength, and more strength. Longao clearly knew that he had to have strength. Only then could he not be humiliated by others. His fists clenched tightly. Longao told himself that no matter how much effort he had to put in, he had to have strength. In the Tianmu continent, martial arts were respected. 10 years ago, Longao, as the #1 genius of the Long family, officially entered the 6th firmament of inner strength. 10 years ago, Longao was 8 years old. An 8-year-old 6th firmament inner strength martial artist. Not to mention the Long family, even in the entire Chihua town, he was the most talented genius. Therefore, Longao was envied by countless people. Everyone used 4 words to describe him: amazing talent. His cultivation speed was fast, and his talent was high. He absolutely surpassed his peers and swept through the entire Chihua town. But the heavens didn't listen. When Longao broke through from the 6th firmament to the 7th firmament, the inner strength in his body couldn't achieve an endless cycle. In the end, it even plummeted. Not only did he not break through, but he also fell back to the 3rd firmament of the Hotian realm. No one knew the reason. Even Longao himself didn't know what happened. Since then, the Long family tried all kinds of methods to get back the genius of the past. But the end result was disappointment, disappointment, and disappointment. When everyone chose to give up, Longao himself didn't give up. He cultivated day and night. He was 10,000 times more hardworking than others. But in the end, his endless efforts were all for naught. Did he really have to give up? In the past, Longao constantly asked himself. But the answer he got was always one, and that was to persevere. The peak of martial arts, Longao had always dreamed of pursuing. Because he knew that if he wanted to survive, he had to become stronger. If not, he wouldn't have been able to persevere for 10 years. 10 years of perseverance was not something everyone could do. In this way, Longao persisted and worked hard for 10 years. But fate was ruthless. It played the biggest joke on Longao. No matter how hard he tried, no matter how hard he persevered, he still didn't succeed in condensing inner strength. Gradually, the former genius was labeled as trash. Maybe it was because of envy, jealousy, and hatred, but now the disciples of the Long family came to find trouble with Longao from time to time. Not only did they taunt and ridicule him, but they also punched and kicked him. 10 years of hard work, 10 years of perseverance, and in the end, only the word trash was exchanged. Not only did it make him unable to raise his head, but it also made his father ashamed. Chapter 2. The night was exceptionally quiet. Longao cleaned himself up and changed into a clean set of clothes. In the end, he still chose to clean the ancestral hall. This wasn't because he was a coward, but because he didn't want to lose the bargaining chip to continue cultivating. With helpless steps, Longao arrived at the Long family's forbidden grounds, in front of the Long family's ancestral hall. The Long clan's ancestral hall was a place to worship the ancestors of the Long clan. It was located in the deepest part of the residence and was surrounded by trees. It was a quiet and elegant environment. Normally, no one would come here. Longao gently pushed open the doors of the ancestral hall and couldn't help but shiver. He muttered to himself, "What's the use of cleaning? When have you ever protected me? If there's a next life, I really don't want to continue being a disciple of the Long clan." With a helpless and bitter smile, Longao entered the ancestral hall and closed the doors. He looked around and didn't immediately start cleaning. Instead, he walked straight to the altar and sat down. I really don't know why I've been persevering for the past 10 years. Could it be because of the ridicule and ridicule of others? He laughed self-mockingly. The word trash constantly spurred him on. He didn't dare to relax and had to persevere. However, the result of persevering was still trash. Under the dim light, he could only hear the rustling of the wind outside. What's that? There seemed to be a flash of light in the southeast corner of the ancestral hall, which immediately attracted Longao's attention. He stood up and walked to the southeast corner. Because the wooden wall had rotted over the years, it emitted a faint stench. Longao waved his hand and endured the stench. He carefully observed the wall under the dim light. Could it be hollow? With curiosity, Longao gently knocked on several floor tiles on the ground and found that the sound of the innermost floor tile was a little different. Was it hollow inside? Longao didn't know what was under the tile. He tried to pry it open, but the light was too dim. He couldn't see what was under the tile. He stretched out his right hand and reached into the hole under the tile. When half of his arm was in, he felt something wet and casually took it out. Sigh. Looking at the thing in his hand, Longao sighed deeply. It seemed that he was already used to his bad luck. The thing in Longao's hand was a small square seal. It was completely black and covered in rust. However, one could still see the pattern carved on it. Although he was disappointed, his curiosity won over his disappointment. Picking up the small seal in his hand, Longao carefully looked at the pattern engraved on the small seal with the help of the dim light. Each of the 6 sides of the small seal had a picture engraved on them. If they were taken out individually, no one would be able to tell what the picture was. However, if one were to look along the 6 sides of the small seal, they would discover that the 6 sides of the small seal were actually a complete picture. Dragon? Of the dragon. Of the dragon of the dragon. Of the dragon's head. Dragons. Dragon. Dragons were legendary existences. Although he hadn't seen a real dragon, Longao still knew what a dragon looked like. So what if it's a dragon? Longao muttered in his heart. When he thought that his 10 years of persistence and hard work were exchanged for trash and ridicule in the end, Longao had a kind of anger and unwillingness that had nowhere to vent. Since he had something in his hand, he didn't care about anything else and directly threw out the small seal in his hand. When one was unlucky, even drinking cold water would cause one's teeth to be stuffed. The small seal that was thrown out made close contact with the wall. After a small spark, it was reflected back at the same speed and directly smashed toward Longao. He was shocked. In a moment of desperation, he covered his face with both hands. It didn't matter where he was hit, but he couldn't disfigure his face. After being hit, a small wound appeared on his arm. Blood flowed out from the wound and flowed into the small seal. Because of the pain, Longao didn't realize that the blood that dripped on the small seal was quickly absorbed by the small seal. The small seal stopped in midair. At this moment, the small seal emitted a strange aura. Then, a huge black dragon appeared. The dragon's shadow danced, and a powerful dragon's breath filled the entire ancestral hall. At this moment, Longao didn't care about the pain in his arm. He opened his eyes and looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Is this real? Longao asked himself in his heart. After so many years, I finally found it. Before Longao could react, in the next moment, the huge dragon shadow was already heading towards him. It turned into countless black dots, and all of them surged into his body. Suddenly, a strange and powerful force spread throughout his body. Longao's body trembled, and then he lost consciousness. The night was still so quiet. The ancestral hall was still quiet. Longao lay quietly on the ground. His whole body was filled with inner strength. It entered his dantian and began to condense and circulate endlessly. 10 years ago, not only did Longao condense his inner strength, but he also reached the 6th layer of inner strength. However, he failed at the last step of condensing his inner strength. 10 years later, Longao was confused. He didn't even know what had happened. His dantian had already started to condense and circulate his inner strength. It had to be said that fate made fools of people. In the sky martial continent, martial artists were supreme. Martial artists were divided into pre-celestial and post-celestial. Pre-celestial martial artists were divided into 10 realms. From the first layer of pre-celestial to the 10th layer of inner strength, the 4th layer of inner strength condensed, and the 7th layer of inner strength condensed endlessly. The 4 big families of Scarlet Fire Town, including the Long family, didn't have a single post-celestial martial artist. The strongest one was at the peak of the 10th layer of inner strength. After an unknown period of time, the unconscious Longao groaned in pain. He slowly opened his eyes and climbed up from the ground with difficulty. Thinking about what just happened, it was like a dream. Giant dragon? He actually saw a giant dragon. Although it was just a dragon shadow, it was still connected to a giant dragon. Where's the dragon shadow? Where's little Een? He was very curious because the little Een and the dragon shadow he just saw were all gone. Could it be that he saw a ghost? Looking at the corner of the wall, he saw that the floor tiles were still there. If that was the case, then he didn't see a ghost. If that's the case, then where's the dragon shadow and little Een? For a moment, Longao was completely confused. He didn't know what was going on. Why were the things that were there just now gone when he woke up? Could it be that someone was here? It was still a little unreliable. He was pleasantly surprised. Immediately after, Longao's face revealed a look of ecstasy. This was because he discovered that the inner strength that he had been unable to condense for the past 10 years had actually appeared in his body. Furthermore, it had formed a state of endless circulation within his dantian. Chapter 3. What was going on? For a moment, Longao couldn't react. How did he manage to condense inner strength out of nowhere? If that was the case, then so be it. The problem now was that not only did he successfully condense inner strength, but it also formed an endless cycle in his dantian. What did this mean? Within his dantian, inner strength formed an endless cycle. This meant that he had officially reached the 7th firmament of inner strength. Within the acquired stage, the 4th firmament of inner strength and the 7th firmament of inner strength were 2 watersheds. Countless people were stuck at these 2 barriers. It was easy to imagine how difficult it was to break through the 7th firmament of inner strength. After 10 years of persistence, he still couldn't succeed. How did he suddenly break through? Longao was completely confused. He didn't know what was going on. Happiness seemed to come too quickly. It was as if a meat pie had fallen on his head. If his heart wasn't strong enough, he would have been crushed to death. Ha ha ha, I finally reached the 7th firmament of inner strength. Ha ha. At this moment, Longao laughed crazily. Because the ancestral hall was located in the deepest part, no one could hear him. Just like that, 10 years of persistence and hard work finally paid off. This kind of feeling was something that those who hadn't experienced would never understand. He laughed crazily for a full 3 minutes. After stopping, Longao began to practice the Tyrant Dragon Fist. For the first time in 10 years, he felt as if he had endless power. The Tyrant Dragon Fist in his hands was strong and powerful. It couldn't be compared to before. Suddenly condensing inner strength and forming an endless cycle, Longao had long forgotten about Dragon Shadow and the Small Seal. His fists were tightly clenched, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Longan, Longzhang, Longfeng, tomorrow morning, I will tell you that I am not trash. I am stronger than all of you. Suddenly, Longao's eyes froze. The expression on his face was very strange. 9 cycle of reincarnation technique. First cycle of reincarnation. Mysterious heavenly 9 changes. At this moment, pieces of information appeared in Longao's mind. It was a cultivation method for a martial art. This martial art was called the 9 cycle of reincarnation technique. There were 9 cycles in total. The first cycle was called the mysterious heavenly 9 changes. Although he didn't know where the martial art that suddenly appeared in his mind came from, Longao was still pleasantly surprised because he could feel how powerful the martial art that suddenly appeared in his mind was. Not daring to hesitate, he immediately sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate the 9 cycle reincarnation technique that appeared in his mind. The next day, just as the morning light shone on the earth and before the rooster could crow, Longan, Longzheng, Longfang, and Long Qianqian had already woken up early and walked towards the Long family's ancestral hall. The four of them were in high spirits, perhaps because of what was about to happen. The geniuses of the past were now being trampled under their feet. The envy, jealousy, and hatred from back then had now turned into even more severe humiliation, all for the sake of venting the dissatisfaction in their hearts. Ninth brother, wait for us. If old seventh still hasn't cleaned him up, we must teach him a lesson. Last night, I thought of a new trick. You must have never heard of it before. Seeing the evil smile on Long Fang's face, Long Qianqian asked somewhat anxiously, 12th brother, what is this new trick? Tell me quickly. Just thinking about humiliating that trash gives me an indescribable pleasure in my heart. Long Fang nodded and said coldly, I thought about it for an entire night. It wasn't easy for me to think of it. My new trick is very simple. It is the heavenly fan. Heavenly fan? 12th brother, what does the heavenly fan mean? The three of them were puzzled. They didn't know what the heavenly fan was. Long Fang smiled mysteriously and said, the meaning of the heavenly fan is very simple. The four of us will find old seventh every day and slap him every day. Isn't that the heavenly fan? Uffed. Hearing Long Fang's explanation, Long Qianqian couldn't help but laugh. The other two were also amused. They felt that the heavenly fan that their 12th brother came up with was simply too amazing. Just like this, the four of them unknowingly arrived at the ancestral hall. The four of them didn't dare to kick the door. Otherwise, they would be severely punished by second uncle. Long Qianqian gently pushed the door open. The four of them entered in a single file. However, the following scene nearly caused them to go berserk. At this moment, the entire ancestral hall was in a mess. Not only were there leaves all over the ground, but when they stepped on them, they would leave a muddy mark. Even worse was that the memorial tablets on the altar were all over the place. If second uncle were to discover this, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. Old seventh, get out here. I'm going to kill you. Currently, the four of them had rage written all over their faces. They couldn't wait to find Longao and chop him into pieces. If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have allowed him to clean the ancestral hall. The more he cleaned, the messier it became. Who's calling me? Wah. The sound of someone stretching lazily rang out. Long Ao slowly walked out from behind the altar. When he saw the scene in front of him, he seemed to be shocked. He asked, who did this? That's too unethical. Who did this? The four of them were almost angered to death by Long Fang's words. Long sneered and asked, Old Seventh, tell us the truth. Did you do this? Wait, let me think. Oh, right, I almost forgot. Long Ao lowered his head and began to ponder. He seemed to be thinking about something, completely ignoring the murderous gazes of the four of them. Damn you, have you thought it through or not? Do you want me to use the sky fan to help you think? Sky fan? Long Ao didn't seem to understand the meaning of the sky fan. He looked at the four of them in confusion. When they thought of the sky fan, the four of them couldn't help it. In order to make Long Fang more afraid and worried, Long Fang purposely said, Old Seventh, I thought of an excellent move last night. It's the sky fan. Old 12, let me explain. Long Qianqian's face was filled with disdain and mockery. She said coldly, Old Seventh, listen carefully. The sky fan is to hit you every day. If you're obedient, we might be in a good mood and hit you gently. However, if you're disobedient, so what? So what? Then you can only go out with a pig head to meet people every day. Long looked very helpless, but the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of an evil smile. Pig head? So this is the sky fan. At this time, Long Ao suddenly moved. Pa pa pa. One after another, the sound of slapping was heard. Before the four of them could react, a scream like that of a pig being slaughtered was heard. Then, Long Fang covered his face and screamed in pain. Long Zheng, and Long Qianqian looked at Old 12 who was slapped in the face. The three of them were completely dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what had just happened. Old 7, who had been bullied by them and didn't dare to fight back, actually slapped Old 12. Chapter 4. Bastard. You actually dare to slap me? At this moment, Long Fong covered his face and screamed. He was in disbelief. The sky fan that he thought of was used on his face. Was this real? You said it just now. The sky fan is to slap your face every day. I was just demonstrating. How does it feel? Comfortable? Comfortable your ass. I'm going to kill you. The angry Long Fong had already lost his mind and rushed out with a roar. He rushed out, but what made Long Fong feel inconceivable was that the figure in front of him actually disappeared under his nose. What was going on? Because of your sky fan, I suddenly thought of a five-finger fan. Why don't you try it again? At this time, hearing Old Seven's voice from behind, Long Fong and the other three were shocked. When Long Fong turned around and was about to make a move, it was already too late. Slap, slap, slap. One slap after another sounded. It was unknown how many times he was slapped. With a plop, Long Fong was slapped to the ground. He didn't even have the chance to scream before he fainted. At this moment, Long Fong's face was like a pig's head. Even now, Long Fong probably didn't think that the move he thought of would be used on himself. Old Seven, you condensed inner strength? As martial artists at the 5th layer of inner strength, how could Long In and Long Zheng not see that this trash, who had not been able to condense inner strength for an entire 10 years, had just used inner strength? Otherwise, how could he have slapped their 12th brother so easily? Condensed inner strength? Even if the two of them didn't want to believe it, they were still shocked to know that the trash of the past had already condensed inner strength. I don't know if I've condensed inner strength, but I just thought of another move. White Unfan. White Unfan. As if they already knew what the other party wanted to do, Long In and Long Zheng were shocked. Just as they were about to make the first move, the sound of slapping rang out. The slaps crazily hit their faces. Long Ao's eyes were cold. He didn't show any mercy at all. In these 10 years, after enduring all kinds of humiliation and ridicule and enduring, Long Ao understood one thing. That was that one couldn't be too kind. One couldn't be too kind to one's enemies. Otherwise, it would be cruel to oneself. Heavenly Fan? I've come up with another move. It's called Still Wanting to Fan After Fan. Please advise me. Slap, slap, slap. The sound of slapping echoed throughout the ancestral hall. Long Qianqian, who was standing at the side and trembling, was completely dumbfounded when she saw the three people lying on the ground. From the beginning to the end, she had never thought that the cowardly and obedient Old Seven would be so arrogant at this time. Moreover, her strength had increased greatly. What exactly happened? After slapping them, Long Ao didn't even look at the three people on the ground. He turned to look at the dumbstruck Long Qianqian and said coldly, I didn't slap you this time because you're a woman. Remember, don't provoke me in the future. Otherwise, I'll slap you with my 5 fingers every day. It's a waste not to slap and still want to slap. If you don't believe me, you can try. With a mischievous smile, Long Ao turned around and left. It was only 10 minutes after Long Ao left that Long Qianqian screamed in horror as if she had seen a ghost. By the time the rest of the Long family rushed to the ancestral hall, they found it dirty and messy. The 4 of them had already fainted. Back in the courtyard, Long Ao still couldn't figure out how his cultivation had broken through to the 7th firmament of internal force. What exactly happened? Long Ao knew that things were definitely not that simple. What was the reason? He tried to circulate the internal force in his dantian, but it was still circulating endlessly. This meant that everything that had happened last night, and even just now, was not a dream. It really happened. Strike while the iron is hot. After breaking through to the 7th firmament of internal force, Long Ao was ready to continue cultivating. He wanted to see if he could get lucky again and break through to the 8th firmament of internal force. After trying for 2 hours, there was no progress at all. Was he going to stay where he was again? Master, your sacred body of desolation needs to absorb a huge amount of energy. Otherwise, it will be difficult to break through. Master? Hearing the sudden voice, Long Ao was almost scared to death. He asked vigilantly, is it a human or a ghost? If it's a human, come out if you have the ability. Why are you sneaking around? Master, I'm in your dantian. Try to communicate with the dragon seal with your soul. I'll guide you into the dragon seal space. Dantian? Dragon seal? What the hell was this? With a trace of curiosity, Longao tried to send his soul into his Dantian. According to his strength, it was impossible for him to do so. However, at this moment, with the help of someone, his soul entered his Dantian unimpeded. He saw a small black seal with 6 sides carved with a giant dragon floating in the center of his Dantian. At this moment, a strange power shot out from the small seal. It brought Longao's soul into the small seal, which was the so-called dragon seal space. It was a dark and mysterious space. The air was filled with streaks of gray and black liquid like water. The entire space was very oppressive. It felt suffocating. In the boundless, mysterious space, there was an illusory old man standing outside a huge blood pool. The old man's facial features could not be seen clearly. It was as if he was covered by a white veil. Arriving at the side of the only huge blood pool in the mysterious space, Longao stared at the illusory old man and asked, "Was it you who was talking to me?" The massive blood pool was bubbling non-stop, reminiscent of boiling water. Golyulu, Golyulu. Heat waves emanated from the surface of the blood pool. Putting aside entering it, just by getting close to it, one would be able to sense the fearsome aura emanating from it. "Master, my name is Long Fu. I'm the housekeeper of the Dragon Seal space. Congratulations on being recognized by the Dragon Seal." Dragon Seal recognition? Long Fu? Longao was completely confused. He did not know what was going on. Could it be the small seal he obtained in the ancestral hall? "Can you tell me what's going on?" "Master, before your strength is strong enough, I can't tell you anything. Please forgive me. However, in the future, I will constantly refine souls and primordial spirits to help you increase your strength. I can also help you refine soul slaves to defend against enemies." He was a little depressed. However, since the other party did not want to say more, Longao did not ask anymore. "I don't need to ask about other things. However, what is the desolate saint physique that you just mentioned? Can you tell me?" "This is possible. Master, the physique you possess is called the desolate saint physique. During the desolate period, this physique was known as the number 1 cultivation saint physique. Its cultivation speed was unprecedented. However, this physique was also known as the number 1 cultivation waste physique. Chapter 5. The sacred body of desolation was the number 1 cultivating sacred body, and it was also the number 1 cultivating useless body. What did that mean? Longao was confused by Long Fu's words. Why was the sacred body of desolation the number 1 cultivating sacred body, but it was also the number 1 cultivating useless body? Long Fu, can you explain it more clearly? I don't understand. Yes, Master. Long Fu's attitude was extremely gentle. He said, "Master, the sacred body of desolation you have is the number 1 sacred body of desolation. Its cultivation speed is very fast, but it needs to absorb a huge amount of energy. It is very difficult to absorb enough energy to increase your strength." Longao did not speak. He stood quietly by the blood pool and listened. Longao had an intuition that the sacred body of desolation mentioned by Long Fu had something to do with his inability to break through for 10 years. Without enough energy, the sacred body of desolation becomes the most useless sacred body. Its cultivation speed is also much slower than that of ordinary people. Therefore, the sacred body of desolation is called the number 1 cultivating sacred body, and it is also known as the number 1 cultivating useless body. So that's how it is. Long Fu, 10 years ago, my cultivation had reached the 6th firmament of internal force. However, when I tried to condense the energy, not only did I fail, but I also fell back to the 3rd firmament. Is this related to my sacred body of desolation? Yes, the sacred body of desolation requires too much energy. It is impossible to achieve an endless cycle just by relying on the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. When Master tried to condense the energy, he was instantly drained by the sacred body of desolation. I have to say, Master, you are very lucky. You only fell back to the 3rd firmament, and you were not directly drained. My luck is good? According to what Long Fu said, my luck is indeed good. Master, leave the matter of energy to me in the future. I will help you refine your soul and primordial spirit in the blood pool and extract the purest energy for your cultivation. I can also refine soul slaves in the blood pool to help you fight your enemies. Blood pool? Longao looked at the blood pool. It seemed that the blood water in the pool was emitting a terrifying aura that could shake one's soul. He didn't dare to look at it for too long. He asked, "Do you mean that if I want to refine energy or refine a soul slave, I need to find a soul?" "That's right, Master. You're really smart." Smart my ass. If he couldn't even think of this, he would be no different from an idiot. He glared fiercely. "Master, the 9-cycle reincarnation technique in the dragon seal is an extremely powerful martial art. I hope that Master will work hard to cultivate it." 9 revolutions reincarnation technique? Sure enough, it seemed that his guess was correct. The 9-cycle reincarnation technique that had suddenly appeared in his mind had come from the small seal. "Master, the 9 cycles of reincarnation is incomparably powerful. The 9 cycles of reincarnation can defy the heavens and earth. When Master completes the 9 cycles of reincarnation, it will also be the day when you step onto the peak of martial arts. Long Fu is very much looking forward to seeing Master take that step. The 9 cycles of reincarnation is incomparably powerful. The 9 cycles of reincarnation can defy the heavens and earth. When Master completes the 9 cycles of reincarnation, it will also be the day when he steps onto the peak of martial arts." Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao became a little dazed. That was because stepping onto the peak of martial arts had always been his dream. Otherwise, he wouldn't have persisted for 10 years without giving up. "All right, I still have things to do. How should I leave?" "Master, you can leave on your own. There won't be any obstructions. If Master comes to find me, as long as your soul communicates with the dragon seal, I will guide Master's soul in." Nodding, Longao didn't continue to linger. His soul left the dragon seal space. "It seems that my luck is about to change." He smiled. No matter what the result was, this was his only chance. Otherwise, he would have already been beaten by the 4 of them. How could he still have the chance to take revenge and step onto the peak of martial arts? Creak. The broken door was violently pushed open. A young girl in her 20s walked in. She had an oval-shaped face, a high nose, and exquisite facial features. No matter how one looked at her, she was a rare beauty. The young girl's name was Long Zio. She was Longan, Long Zheng, and Long Feng's elder sister. She was ranked 5th in the Long family. At this moment, Long Zio's face seemed to have a trace of anger and disbelief. Entering the courtyard, she saw the young man standing opposite her and snorted coldly. "Old 7, Grandpa is looking for you. He wants you to go to the main hall immediately." Long Ao didn't have a good impression of Long Zio and her siblings. However, she was still his elder sister, so he still called her 5th sister. After passing the message, Long Zio didn't leave. Instead, she snorted coldly and said in a scolding tone, "Old 7, I know that the 4 of them don't treat you well, but you don't have to be so ruthless. Don't you care about your brotherly feelings?" Care about his brotherly feelings? Hearing Long Zio's words, Long Ao almost laughed out loud. It seemed that the other party was looking for trouble this time. After all, he had beaten up her younger brother. "5th sister, since you know that the 4 of them bully me, why don't you stand up and do something about it?" Long Zio was speechless. From the beginning to the end, not only did she not stand up and do something about it, she was happy to see this kind of thing happen. Seeing the genius of the past being stepped on by her younger brother could only be described with one word. With one look, Long Ao already knew what the other party was thinking. He sneered in his heart and continued to say, "For 10 years, the 4 of them have been bullying me. When have they ever cared about their brotherly feelings? All right, I know that you have been unconvinced for the past 10 years. I heard from the 4 of them that you have already condensed your inner force. If that's the case, I hope to be challenged by you in the family's internal test in a month's time. At that time, I want to see if you are really as arrogant as you said." After saying the main purpose of passing the message, Long Zio turned and walked out of the courtyard. Just as she was about to leave, Long Zio suddenly stopped and her voice slowly drifted over. If you don't challenge me in the internal test in a month's time, you will have to kneel in front of my 3 younger brothers and admit your mistakes." After saying that, Longzio did not stay any longer this time. Instead, she quickly left. Longao clenched his fists. How could he tolerate such provocation and mockery? Moreover, at this moment, he already had the strength to challenge the other party. He was at the 7th level of inner force. However, Longzio was only at the peak of the 6th level of inner force. Looking in the direction where Longzio had disappeared, Longao said firmly, "Don't worry. I will personally challenge you in the family's internal test in a month's time. I want to tell the whole family that I, Longao, am not a piece of trash. I want to shut up all those who have looked down on me in the past." Originally, Longao wanted to cultivate in peace. Since his grandfather was looking for him, he could only wash up and leave the courtyard. He walked towards the Long family's main hall. He had not seen his grandfather for 8 years. The reason was simple. In the heart of the Long family's head, the genius grandson of the past had become a piece of trash that everyone ridiculed. Chapter 6. Crimson Fire Town, Long Family Hall. The Long family was built by Longao alone. After 30 years of development, it had become one of the 4 great families in Crimson Fire Town. The head of the Long family, Longao, was 75 years old this year. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 10th heavenly layer. He was the only 10th heavenly layer martial artist in Crimson Fire Town. Longao had 5 sons. The eldest, Long Yi, was Longao's biological father. The second, Long Li, and the third, Long Jin, were Long Qianqian's fathers. The fourth, Long Lin, was the father of Long Zio, Long An, Long Zheng, and Long Fong. The fifth, Long Hua. Among the 5 sons of the Long family, only the eldest, Long Yi, had reached the 10th heavenly layer. He was also the next head of the Long family. Within a year, there were 11 months where Long Yi, Long Jin, Long Lin, and Long Hua were not in Crimson Fire Town. Instead, they were far away in Thundercloud City. Only the second, Long Li, stayed in the Long family to take care of everything. Longao was the most dazzling genius of the Long family 10 years ago. Whether it was Longao or Long Yi, they were proud to have such a son and grandson. However, 10 years ago, Longao failed to condense the endless cycle. The Long family tried everything to no avail. Longao and Long Yi lost confidence in Longao. Especially Longao, he hadn't seen his grandson for 8 years. At this moment, the Long family hall was filled with people. The head of the Long family was undoubtedly the head of the Long family, Longao. The first seat on the left was Long Li, who was in charge of everything in the Long family. From the second seat on the left and right were Long Ying, Long Qin, Long Shi, Long Yi, Long Zio, Long Pingqiu, Long Feng, Long An, Long Zheng, Long Fong, and Long Ming. All the third-generation disciples of the Long family were present. There were 13 people in the third generation of the Long family. Except for Longao, who didn't condense his inner strength, the other 12 had all condensed their inner strength and reached the 4th heavenly layer. Everyone, from Longao to Long Ming, was waiting for one person. A former genius, now a waste, suddenly condensed his inner strength last night. This person was Longao. In front of the Long family's main hall, Longao did not stop at all and directly stepped into the hall. The moment he stepped in, everyone's gazes shot over. However, Longao was not moved in the slightest. He went straight to Longao, bowed and asked, "Grandfather, is there something you need from me?" Longao also seemed to be a little surprised. He nodded and said, "I heard that you've already condensed inner strength, so you'll be part of this ghost hunting operation." Ghost hunting operation? This morning, news came from Thundercloud City, saying that the wanted criminal, Black Ghost, has come to Scarlet Fire Town and is hiding in the Scarlet Volcano. Just now, the 3 great clans have already communicated with us. In order to give the young people a chance to gain experience, you can also participate in this ghost hunting operation. So that was the case. I'll listen to Grandfather's arrangements. Grandpa, what about us? Old Seven shamelessly ambushed us and almost killed us. Hearing that their grandfather did not have the slightest intention of blaming old Seven, Longan, Longzhang, and Long Fong were completely anxious. Did they get slapped for nothing? Long Zio also stood up and bowed respectfully. Her voice was very cold as she said, "Grandfather, you once said that the disciples of the Long family are not allowed to have internal strife. Now that old Seven has seriously injured his three brothers, I hope grandfather can help them." In the hall, everyone from the third generation looked at Longao with a little curiosity. They did not know how this waste did it. Even if he condensed inner strength, how could he slap the three of them into pig heads? One must know that Longin and Longzhang had already reached the fifth layer of inner strength. How could someone who had just condensed inner strength be comparable to them? Because of this, in everyone's opinion, the reason why Longao was able to slap the three of them into pig heads was 99% due to a sneak attack. Longao, what is going on? Seeing that their grandfather was a little unhappy, the four of them sat down obediently. In the Long family, Long Haosher's dignity was inviolable. Not to mention the third generation, even the second generation did not dare to breathe loudly in front of this family head. "Grandfather, I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine." Gradually, Long Ao did not say anything more. However, it was this explanation that made everyone understand the meaning of Long Ao's words. Ever since 10 years ago, when Long Ao failed to condense the endless cycle, his cultivation fell back to the third layer, and he was unable to continue condensing the inner strength. Long In and the other two had been looking for trouble with Long Ao. Everyone in the Long family knew about this matter. Long Haosher's eyes emitted a golden light as he stared at his grandson in front of him. He did not say anything. Just like that, the entire hall fell into silence. No one dared to speak first. "Long Ao, no matter what, this matter is still your fault. I must give the others an explanation." Hearing that their grandfather was going to punish Long Ao, Long En and the others' faces were filled with joy. As for the others, some were mocking, some were watching a good show, some were indifferent, some were sympathetic, and there were all kinds of expressions. Tonight, clean up the martial skill pavilion. Everyone go back and have a good rest. Tomorrow morning, we will head to the Scarlet Volcano. "Yes, grandfather." Everyone stood up and respectfully bowed. Then, one by one, they filed out. However, Long In and the others were completely dumbfounded. They could not believe it. This was grandfather's punishment for old Seven? How was this a punishment? This was clearly a reward because the Long family's martial skill pavilion could not be entered at any time. Unless Long Haosher approved, trespassers would be heavily punished. Long In and the others were not fools. They instantly understood their grandfather's meaning. Without a doubt, old Seven had just condensed inner strength and needed to cultivate martial skills. In name, their grandfather was punishing him to clean up the martial skill pavilion, but in reality, he was letting old Seven cultivate the Long family's martial skills while cleaning up the martial skill pavilion. Even if they were unconvinced and unhappy, Long In and the others did not dare to argue with their grandfather. When Long Ao left the hall, he realized that no one had left. Instead, they were all blocking the entrance. Long Zio and the others were especially fierce. They could not wait to kill him. "Long Ao, you win. But remember this. I will slowly settle this score with you. I will teach you when the time comes. Long Ao, you don't have to be so arrogant. In a month's time, it will be the family's internal test. I hope to see you challenge them. Otherwise, you will have to kneel down and apologize to them. Otherwise, you will not end well." Hearing Long Zio's words, everyone was gloating. What kind of joke was this? Long Ao wanted to challenge Long Zio during the family's internal test? Was that possible? All right, we are all brothers. Don't make things like this. Everyone, disperse. The first of the Long family's third generation, Long Ying, had an ugly expression. He waved his hand, indicating for everyone to disperse. Chapter 7. As the first and the third generation of the Long family, Long Ying's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 8th firmament. With Long Ying's strength and status, even Long Zio did not dare to offend this big brother of hers. After everyone had left reluctantly, Long Ying said, "Seventh brother, Congratulations on condensing inner strength. I believe in you. With your talent, you will definitely return to the state you were in 10 years ago. Longao had a good impression of this big brother in front of him because Long Ying was the only person who had not looked down on or mocked him in the past 10 years. Thank you, big brother. I will work hard. Good. Grandfather's punishment this time has another meaning. There are many martial arts techniques in the martial arts pavilion. Make good use of them. With that, Long Ying smiled and patted Long Ao's shoulder before leaving. Martial arts pavilion? Long Ao had always wanted to enter the martial arts pavilion. It was funny. As a genius in the past, he had never entered the forbidden area of the Long family, let alone practice any of the Long family's martial arts techniques. 10 years ago, according to Long Haosher, he wanted to wait until Long Ao reached the 7th firmament before entering the martial arts pavilion to practice martial arts. This way, he could focus all his attention on condensing inner strength. But things did not go according to his wishes. 10 years ago, he had failed to condense his inner strength and his cultivation had dropped rapidly. This meant that he had lost the opportunity to enter the martial arts pavilion. Excited and expectant, Long Ao could not wait any longer and immediately walked towards the martial arts pavilion. Martial arts techniques were essential skills for martial artists. If a martial artist had a martial arts technique, the power they could unleash would increase greatly. Martial arts techniques were also divided into pre-celestial and post-celestial martial arts techniques. The martial arts pavilion was the forbidden area of the Long family. Ordinary people could not enter unless they had Long Haosher's permission. It was precisely because of this that Long Ao did not encounter any obstructions and smoothly entered the martial skill pavilion. The room was neither big nor small, and there were rows of bookshelves filled with various martial arts and martial skills. With the 9-cycle reincarnation technique, there was no need for other techniques. Right now, martial techniques were what Long Ao needed the most. He seemed to be in a rush, even forgetting to clean up. He went to the first row of bookshelves and started flipping through martial techniques one by one. Not all martial skills could be cultivated. If one did not find a martial skill that was suitable for oneself, once one faced an enemy, not only would one not be able to display the power that one should have, it would even hinder one's strength. Thunderclap palm, whirlwind kick, praying mantis hook. Flipping through the martial skills one by one, he simply couldn't find a martial skill that suited him. Could it be that within the martial skills pavilion, there wasn't a single martial skill that suited him? Just as Long Ao was starting to feel disappointed, he suddenly found a book called Heart-Locking Palm placed in the middle of the third row of bookshelves. This was fate. Long Ao picked up the Heart-Locking Palm and began to flip through it page by page. He seemed to have forgotten about the time. Just like that, he looked and gestured. Gradually, the sky began to brighten. When he was about to leave, Long Ao found another movement technique, gale steps. The next day, noon. Only Long Ao was guarding the flat path of the Scarlet Volcano. According to everyone's opinion, as a wanted criminal, and knowing that the 4 big families of the Scarlet Fire Town were looking for him, Black Ghost wouldn't dare to take the main path openly. He would definitely take the small path. Long Ao was the trash of the Long family. Even if he had already condensed inner strength, he was still considered to be the weakest. Therefore, he was assigned to guard this place. He was considered a dispensable role. Lying in the grass, Long Ao had a straw in his mouth. He crossed his legs and sunbathed. He was leisurely humming a tune. How was this guarding the road? It was clear that he had come out to travel. Chi. Someone's there? Long Ao, who was humming a tune and resting with his eyes closed, heard light footsteps. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately turned around to hide in the grass. Not long after, a man in black appeared. The man's speed was fast, and his footsteps were light. In the blink of an eye, he was already near. Long Ao had seen Black Ghost's portrait. Of course, he knew that this man in black was a wanted criminal in Thundercloud City. He was also a master of the 8th level of inner strength. Black Ghost was very smart. He calculated that everyone would think that he would take the small path. However, Black Ghost actually took the main path. This move accurately grasped people's thoughts. Just as Black Ghost flashed in front of him, Long Ao made his move. With the 7th level of inner strength, the inner strength in his body circulated endlessly. The strength of his palm was more than 100 pounds. If this palm hit Black Ghost, even if he didn't die, he would be crippled. However, Longao still underestimated Black Ghost. As a master of the 8th level of inner strength, he felt that the wind around him was not right. He immediately retreated and dodged the sneak attack. He immediately turned his palm into a fist and fiercely punched out. His reaction was very fast. Black Ghost's strength was very strong. The power of his punch was not to be underestimated. Longao did not dare to be careless. Since his sneak attack did not succeed, he immediately retreated. He did not want to meet force with force. Just like this, the two people's attacks did not succeed in hitting each other. Who are you? Why are you blocking my path? Black Ghost was covered in black clothes. Even his face was covered by a black cloth. His voice was gloomy. As a master of the 8th level of inner strength, he obviously knew what the opponent's attack meant. Longao, I think you're Black Ghost, right? I thought you were some big shot. Turns out you're just a coward who doesn't even dare to show his face. Longao's face was full of disdain. He shook his head. The meaning was very simple. I overestimated you. How could Black Ghost endure being looked down upon by a brat? He roared and rushed out like an arrow. The biggest difference between the 8th level and 7th level of inner strength was the amount of inner strength. It was precisely because of this that Longao would not meet force with force. He used the heart-locking palm that he had just learned and continuously struck out palm after palm. Moreover, with the help of the speed of Gale steps, he wandered around Black Ghost. This time, Longao's luck was good. Under normal circumstances, it would be very difficult for him to kill a master of the 8th level of inner strength. However, the situation was different now. Black Ghost was wanted by Thundercloud City for many days. Along the way, he was chased by many people. Not only was he exhausted, but he was also heavily injured. Gradually, Black Ghost began to be unable to hold on, and even the speed of his punches slowed down a lot. Not only that, the serious injury relapsed, and his body even began to tremble slightly. There was no need for Longao to make a move. Suddenly, Black Ghost fell to the ground, trembled a few times, and stopped moving. Dead? My luck is too good. He was secretly happy because Longao knew that he had picked up a big bargain this time. It didn't take much effort at all. Black Ghost fell down by himself. He thought that there would definitely be a life and death battle this time. He didn't know whether he would live or die. Chapter 8. Master, quickly use the soul-searching technique I taught you to send his soul in. Hearing Long Fu's voice transmission, Longao did not dare to hesitate. He immediately came to Black Ghost's side, placed his 5 fingers on the top of his head, and began the soul-searching technique. According to Long Fu, he could help him refine the soul and turn it into the purest energy for him to absorb. Longao was very depressed about his own desolate saint physique. Although the cultivation speed of this physique was very fast, the energy absorbed was too large. If Long Fu did not help, he believed that he might not be able to break through 1 level in 10 years. The desolate saint physique was both the number 1 cultivation saint physique and the number 1 cultivation waste physique. He did not know if it was good or bad luck to have a physique like the desolate saint physique. The soul-searching technique was successful. Master, I will help you refine the soul and turn it into energy. At that time, your body will automatically absorb it. Longao did not answer because he found that there seemed to be something bulging in Black Ghost's arms. Why was Black Ghost wanted by Thundercloud City? Thundercloud City did not mention the reason why Black Ghost was wanted. Was there something fishy about it? Out of curiosity, Longao carefully searched Black Ghost's body. In addition to a few gold cards with large denominations, there was only a small pure black bead, the size of an eyeball, exuding a powerful force. Beast Core? Beast Core. Only spirit beasts of level 7 and above could condense beast cores. Moreover, beast cores could be absorbed by martial artists to increase their strength. One could imagine how precious beast cores were. Could it be that Thundercloud City wanted this person because of this beast core? Longao did not think that Thundercloud City would want a martial artist of the 8th level of internal energy for a few gold cards. Strange, I clearly saw Black Ghost coming in this direction. Where did he go? Young master, look over there. At this moment, the sound of rapid footsteps and noise came from not far away. Longao did not panic at all. He put the beast core in his hands into his bosom. His face was as calm as water, without the slightest bit of abnormality. After a while, 6 people came over quickly. The one walking in front was a teenager with a sharp mouth, monkey cheeks, and bulging eyes. The teenager came in front of Black Ghost and looked at the dead Black Ghost. He seemed a little surprised. Longao, did you kill Black Devil? Yang Buju, the genius disciple of the Yang family, had already reached the 7th layer of internal force at a young age. However, he was extremely treacherous and was also Longao's sworn enemy. 10 years ago, Longao had beaten him up. Because of the humiliation 10 years ago, Yang Buju had been looking for an opportunity to take revenge. However, Longao had never given him a chance. No. If you didn't kill him, then tell me, how did Black Ghost die? Why should I tell you? It's really funny. What does it have to do with you how Black Ghost died? Ha ha ha, what a glib tongue. What an arrogant trash. As if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. Yang Buju suddenly burst into laughter, his laughter filled with disdain. Longao, do you still remember what happened 10 years ago? So what if I remember? Good, as long as you remember. Today, I will take revenge for the humiliation that year. However, Longao, don't say that I bullied you. I will give you a chance. As long as you kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, I may be magnanimous and let you go. Otherwise, I will let you have a good taste of being beaten. Kowtow your sister. Longao clenched his fists tightly. He was already furious because this young Buju in front of him had caused him a lot of trouble in the past 10 years. If it wasn't for his vigilance, who knows what would have happened? Want revenge? Let's see who will beat who. After successfully breaking through to the 7th layer of internal force, Longao was not afraid of Yang Buju. Yang Buju, you dare to humiliate my fiancé. I will break your neck. Just as the 2 sides were about to draw their swords, a thunderous sound rang out. Then, a huge body appeared beside Longao. With a height of 1.7 meters and a bloated body, one couldn't even see her facial features. Her unkempt hair gave people the feeling of a wild lion. Looking at the girl who suddenly appeared, both Yang Buju and Longao were completely shocked. Yuan Wang, this is between me and Longao. What right do you have to interfere? Yuan Wang, the granddaughter of the Wang family head, is also the #1 genius of the Wang family and even Red Fire Town. At the age of 20, she has successfully broken through to the peak of the 9th layer of internal force. She is the most promising disciple of the Wang family to break through to the 10th layer of internal force. Wang Yuan abhorred evil as if it were her personal enemy. She liked to lend a helping hand when she saw injustice on the road. It was just that her appearance and figure were a little unreasonable. However, whenever the geniuses of the Wang clan were mentioned in the Scarlet Fire Town, they would all raise their thumbs and praise them. What right do I have? Yuan Wang sneered, her face full of disdain. She said domineeringly, Longao, you impotent thing, listen carefully. Longao is my fiancé. If you dare to touch him, I will really make you impotent. If you don't believe me, you can try. You. Hearing such derogatory words, Yang Buju almost fainted from anger. However, he could only endure because everyone knows the strength and character of the other party. If he really angered the other party and beat him to impotence, who can he find a reason with? Good Longao. I always thought you were a man, but today, you are at most a trash who only knows how to hide behind a woman. Longao, you will hide behind a woman for the rest of your life. Otherwise, sooner or later, I will make you regret being a man. Fiercely glaring at the 2 people in front of him, Yang Buju was ready to leave. However, at this time, countless figures quickly shot over. In the blink of an eye, the 4 great families of Red Fire Town, the Yang family, the Wang family, the Long family, and the Nangong family, all arrived. Looking at the corpse on the ground, everyone was puzzled. Young family head Young Guantian opened his mouth and asked, impotent, "Who killed Black Devil?" "Grandfather, I don't know. When I came, Black Devil was already dead." However, at that time, only Longao was at the scene. Longao? Hearing Yang Buju's words, everyone's eyes shot towards Longao. However, no one believed that the trash of the Long family could kill Black Devil. "Aoer, what happened just now?" Without waiting for others to ask, Long Hausher asked first, "Grandfather, I was ordered to guard here. When I was sleeping, this person walked over. Before I could react, he fell to the ground. I don't know if he is dead or alive." Hearing Long Ao's explanation, everyone was completely dumbfounded. Wasn't this luck a bit too good? However, the people of the other three great families obviously didn't believe it. Several people walked out and began to carefully check. Yang Guanqian snorted and asked, "Long Ao, let me ask you, where is Black Devil's gold card in Xianyan Beast Core?" Chapter 9. Long Fei cursed in his heart. It was really an oversight. He had just forgotten to put down the gold card. Smart people must know that how could Black Ghost not have a gold card on him? Even so, how could Long Ao admit it? With an innocent expression, Long Ao said, "Grandfather, I really don't know what's going on. What gold card? What's Xiantian Beast Pellet?" Xiantian Beast Pellet? Yang Guantian's words shocked everyone present. Everyone knew what a Xiantian Beast Pellet meant. Xiantian Beast Pellet, as the name suggested, could only be condensed from a Xiantian Beast Pellet in the body of a Xiantian Beast Pellet. It could be said that a Xiantian Beast Pellet was extremely valuable. Even a Xiantian martial artist would fight for a Xiantian Beast Pellet. Looking at Long Ao's innocent face, no one knew why, but no one was willing to believe that this matter had nothing to do with him. Not to mention anything else, Long Ao was the only one present when He Tian died. Not to mention, the Xiantian Beast Pellet was of great importance. How could the three great clans believe it so easily? You guys are really interesting. My fiancé has already said that he doesn't know. If you want to believe it, then believe it. If you don't want to believe it, then forget it. Wang Yuyin was indeed domineering. She even dared to act like this in front of the patriarchs of the four great clans. This was also the reason why Wang Yuyin was known as the overbearing daughter. Everyone felt a headache when they saw the overbearing daughter of the Wang clan standing up for Long Ao. Looking at his fiancée, who had been protecting him from the start, Long Ao didn't know if he should be happy or sad. This was because he never agreed to this marriage. Everything was done by his father, Long Yi. This was what happened. 10 years ago, Long Ao tried to break through to the 7th heavenly layer of internal strength. However, he failed when he tried to condense his internal strength, and his cultivation fell back to the 3rd heavenly layer. No matter what the Long clan did, the result was the same. The genius of the past had been reduced to trash. One could imagine Long Ao's situation. Whether it was in the Long family or outside, his future life would definitely not be good. It was precisely because of this that Long Ao's father, Long Yi, was afraid that his only son would be bullied after he passed away. With no other choice, he set up this marriage with the Wang family. At first, the Wang family did not agree at all, no matter how Long Yi came to propose. However, in the end, the Wang clan still agreed to this marriage for 2 reasons. The first reason was that Yuyin had liked Long Ao since she was young. With the domineering daughter's stubborn personality, who could stop her? The second reason was that although Wang Yuyin was extremely talented and powerful, her appearance and figure were a little unsatisfactory. It was not an easy thing to find a man for her. The Wang family thought of these 2 points and finally agreed to this marriage. Long Ao had always had a good impression of his powerful fiancée, but she wanted to be his wife? It seemed a little cruel. After all, he did not like domineering women. Yuyin, there's nothing for you to do here. Leave. The Wang family's patriarch, Wang Yidao, had an unsightly expression. If it was any other matter, he might turn a blind eye. However, he could not turn a blind eye to this matter. After all, the Black Devil had a Xiantian Beast core on him. Wang Yidao was well aware of this matter. Grandfather, you can ask, but you can't force or scold him. I'll still say the same thing. If anyone dares to touch my fiancée, I'll destroy them. Such a domineering character appeared in a girl. No matter how one looked at it, it was awkward. No one paid any attention to Wang Yuan's threat, and Nangong he said, "Brother Long, you and I are both clear about the significance of the Xiantian beast core in Black Devil's body. If we catch him and lose the Xiantian beast core, then our 4 major clans will be in trouble." Brother Nangong is right. I've already received accurate information that the Xiantian beast core on the Black Devil came from a rank 6 Long family in Thundercloud City. Rank 6 Long family? Hearing Wang Yidao's words, everyone in the Long family, including Long Haoshi, had a change in expression. They knew better than anyone what a rank 6 Long family meant. Long family was one of the strongest powers in the martial sky continent. Long family was divided into 9 ranks. Rank 1 was the highest and rank 9 was the lowest. It was said that as long as a rank 3 Long family member reached rank 3, they would have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Valley and become companions with the Dragon Warriors. Long family had a strict hierarchy. According to the Long family's rules, as long as a Xiantian martial artist appeared in a family, they could become a rank 8 family. As for the requirements to become a rank 7 or rank 6 family, the current Long family had no right to know. However, the Long family knew one thing. A rank 6 Long family was very powerful. Any Xiantian martial artist could easily exterminate the Long family. Scarlet Fire Town's Long family and Thundercloud City's Long family both belonged to the Long family. However, in the eyes of the rank 6 Long family, the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family was a trash existence. If the rank 6 Long family in Thundercloud City was willing to support them, the Scarlet Fire Town would no longer have the other 3 families. Only the Long family would remain. When the rank 6 Long family was mentioned, Long Haoshi had no choice but to ask again, "Ao, I'll ask you again. Have you seen the Xiantian beast core on the Black Devil?" Long Ao also knew about the rank 6 Long family in Thundercloud City. However, things had already reached this stage. If he were to hand over the Xiantian beast core, it would be even more troublesome. Long Haoshi still had an innocent expression. "Grandfather, I've already said that I haven't seen any gold card or Xiantian beast core. For someone like me, Xiantian beast cores are useless. What use do I have for them?" The 3 of you have also heard. Ao said that he hasn't seen a Xiantian beast core. I believe him. Brother Long, waving his hand, Long Haoshi stopped them from asking any further questions and said, "The Thundercloud City gave us the information to intercept the Black Devil. If we want to kill him, we must get the Xiantian beast core. However, the problem is that the Black Devil doesn't have any Xiantian beast core on him. In my opinion, there are only 2 reasons for the disappearance of the beast core. First, someone heavily injured the Black Devil and took away the beast core. Second, the Black Devil himself hid the beast core. What do you think?" According to Brother Long's analysis, it does make sense. It seems that we can only answer the Thundercloud City in this way. However, a Xiantian beast core is no small matter. I'm afraid that the rank 6 Long family in Thundercloud City won't give up so easily. Don't worry. No matter what, the Thundercloud City's Long family and Brother Long are one family. I don't believe that they will do anything for a lost beast core. Chapter 10. He sneered in his heart. Of course, Long Haoshi knew the meaning of the 3 people clearly. Was it so easy to stay out of it? Long Haoshi did not continue to talk nonsense. After a few polite words, he left with Long Ao and others. "Yuan, where are you going?" "Grandpa, I'm going to find Long Ao." "Find Long Ao?" At this moment, Wang Yidao seemed to regret marrying his best granddaughter to a waste. Was this right or wrong? "Ao, whether you like Yuan or not, she will always be your fiancée. Treat her well. Yuan is a good child." "I know, Grandpa." Long Ao certainly knew what his grandpa meant. Under the gloating eyes of everyone, his speed slowly slowed down. When all the Long family disappeared, Wang Yuan also caught up. "Long Ao, I have something to say to you." Looking at the woman in front of him who didn't look good but had a very kind heart, for a moment, Long Ao didn't know what he wanted in his heart. After all, beauty was the ultimate goal that every man wanted to pursue, But was beauty really that important? For the first time, Longao asked himself in his heart. Longao knew that in the past 10 years, only 3 people chose to believe in him and support him. In addition to his parents, there was only this woman in front of him. Which woman in the world could do this? Longao, I already know that you have successfully condensed internal strength. I knew that 10 years ago, the super genius who looked down on Chihua Town would come back. You really did not let me down. Moved, Longao did not say a word. A trace of warmth flowed through his heart. 10 years, this was the first and only person to say this to him. Believed in him? Always believed in him? Taking out a small book with only a few pages, Wang Yuan said very gently, Longao, I know that you are not successful in the Long family and can't get powerful martial arts, but it doesn't matter. Last night, I knew that you had successfully condensed the internal strength, so I copied a merciful hand for you overnight. Before Wang Yuan could finish her words, Longao had already fiercely pulled her into his embrace, tightly. With a height of less than 1.8 meters, hugging Yuan could be said to be more than enough. Although she did not know what happened to Longao, being hugged by the person she liked for so many years, Wang Yuan was the happiest at this moment. Look, that trash Longao and Ba Nu are hugging each other. What's there to make a fuss about? They are a couple. What the hell do you know? Longao clearly knows that he's a piece of trash and is bullied by others every year. That's why he begged his father to help him get engaged with the tyrant daughter. This kind of person is the most shameless. The disciples of the 3 great families who had scattered in all directions inadvertently saw the 2 of them hugging each other. One by one, they stopped talking and their faces were filled with disdain and contempt. Longao, you don't have to care about what they say. I believe in your talent. One day, you will tell everyone that you, Longao, are not trash. You are the strongest. Nodding heavily, Longao naturally wouldn't pay attention to the ridicule of these people. 10 years of disregard had long since honed a heart of unswerving determination that surpassed ordinary people. Pulling Wang Yuan along, the 2 of them quickly disappeared. After so many years of settling down, Longao finally understood one thing, and that was that the most valuable thing about a woman was not her beauty, but her soul. If a woman with a devastatingly beautiful appearance was actually a vicious woman, who would dare to want such a woman? Not to mention, Yuan really liked him and was the only woman who believed in him. With such a woman, why would he not be satisfied? The night was quiet and the sky was filled with stars. Longao sat quietly in the courtyard, absorbing the energy that Long Fu had already refined. However, for the Saint of Desolation physique, this amount of energy was nothing. One could imagine how big the appetite of the Saint of Desolation physique was. Long Fu, if I directly absorb the energy of a Xiantian beast core, will there be any problems? Others will, but as the master, you will definitely not. Hearing this, Longao was delighted in his heart. Master, you have the Saint of Desolation physique, so you can ignore the backlash of the beast core. However, if you directly absorb it, the amount of energy you can absorb is limited. Why don't you let me help you refine it? No problem. Longao gave the Xiantian beast core to Long Fu to refine, while he practiced the merciful and compassionate hand, wind step, and heart-locking palm. Longao knew that in today's battle, if he could become more familiar with these 2 martial arts, he would not be forced to retreat. Therefore, he had to familiarize himself with these 3 martial arts as soon as possible. Only by combining them with his current realm could he exert the greatest power. You are Longao? At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the courtyard like a ghost. Hearing the voice, Longao was shocked. With a glance, he saw a young man standing not far away. He looked to be 24 or 25 years old, with a slightly pale complexion and delicate facial features, just like a woman. That's right. Who are you? Suppressing the fear in his heart, Longao could clearly feel that the aura emitted by the other party was too strong. Even his grandfather could not have such a strong aura. Could this person be a Xiantian martial artist? His grandfather was at the peak of the 10th celestial layer, and his aura surpassed his grandfather's. It was easy to imagine how strong this person was. My name is Long Yulong. from Thundercloud City's Long family. Thundercloud City's Long family? Thundercloud City's 6th celestial layer Long family? In an instant, Longao had already guessed the identity of the other party. He secretly exclaimed that the other party's speed was very fast. If there was no accident, it seemed that this person had come for the Sciention Beast core. Looks like you know about Thundercloud City's Long family. That's good. I heard that you were the only one present when I died today. I want to ask, did you take away a Sciention Beast core? If you did, hand it over now and I can let bygones be bygones. Sure enough, the other party was here for the Sciention Beast core. I'm sorry, I did not see any Sciention Beast core. Today, I made it very clear that I did not take it. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Good, very good. But whether you believe it or not, it's not up to you, nor is it up to me. As he spoke, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Long Yulong's body. Before Longao could react, it had already enveloped him. What are you doing? Nothing. I'm just using my aura to check if you're lying. Gotcha. The aura of a Sciention martial artist was too terrifying. Longao could not withstand it at all. He knelt on the ground with his hands on the ground. His eyes were bloodshot and his face was pale. Your willpower is not bad, but your strength is a bit lacking. It looks like you're not lying. Withdrawing his aura, just as Long Yulong was about to leave, Longao suddenly stood up and said, "Are you planning to leave just like that?" Chapter 11. Seemingly surprised, Long Yulong stopped with interest. He turned around and asked, "Then what do you want?" Long Yulong, aren't you bullying me because you're a disciple of Thundercloud City's Long family? So what if I am? There was a trace of ridicule on Long Yulong's face as he scolded, "Longao, 10 years ago, your talent might have been not bad, but trash will always be trash. Even without the family behind you, I will still defeat you. Do you believe me? I'll make you pay for today's humiliation double in the future. You're ambitious, but I can tell you clearly that ambition is not given by yourself, but by your strength. Not to mention now, even if I give you another 10 or 20 years, you won't have a chance. I'll say the same thing again. Trash will always be trash." Clenching his fists, Longao said with determination, "Long Yulong, 1 year later, I'll go to Thundercloud City to challenge you. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Challenge me?" Ha ha ha. Hearing that the other party wanted to challenge him, Long Yulong suddenly laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with mockery and disdain, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. After laughing for a full minute, Long Yume suddenly stopped and said with disdain, "All right, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. 1 year later, as long as you challenge me, I'll accept it. However, there's no bet. Seems a little bit." Before Long Yulong could say anything, Long Ao said, "1 year later, in a battle to the death, if I lose, I'll kill myself." "All right, 1 year later, in a battle to the death, if I lose, I'll kill myself too." 1 year later, in a battle to the death, the loser would kill himself. Long Yulong and Long Ao looked at each other. Long Ao's eyes were filled with determination, but Long Yulong's eyes were filled with disdain and disdain. In Long Yulong's heart, he didn't think that the other party could defeat him. Long Yulong left. Long Ao was still standing in the same place, staring in the direction that the other party left. If I had the strength, I wouldn't have been humiliated today. The matter this time had completely awakened Long Ao's fighting spirit and thirst for strength. This was because he clearly knew that if he wanted to not be bullied in this world where strength was respected, there was only one way, and that was to have strength. As long as he was strong enough, Long Yulong would not humiliate him. The 1 year promise, the life and death battle 1 year later. No matter what, he had to win. If he wanted to win the battle of life and death a year later, he would have to work even harder. 1 year. From this incident, Long Ao understood a principle even more, and that was that he had to have a strong strength, because if there was a Long Yulong today, then there might be another even stronger Long Yulong tomorrow. It was still the same sentence. If he didn't want to be bullied, then he had to have a strong strength. His dream of reaching the peak of martial arts, as well as his determination not to be bullied, All of these made Longao understand one thing. He had to have strength. Long Yulong, 1 year later, in the life and death battle, I will definitely defeat you and tell everyone that I, Longao, am not a trash god. One day, I will stand at the peak of martial arts and possess unparalleled strength. Both of his fists were tightly clenched. At this moment, Long Ao's eyes revealed an incomparably firm expression. The next morning, Long family's main hall. On this day, the Long family welcomed the most important guest, Long Yulong of the Level 6 Long family in Thundercloud City. Even Long Haosher came personally to express his respect. The Level 9 Long family of the Scarlet Fire Town and the Level 6 Long family of the Thundercloud City were both branches of a Long family, but the difference in level represented a different status and identity. In front of the Thundercloud City's Long family, the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family was just a small worm. Any random genius from the Thundercloud City's Long family was stronger than Long Haosher. One could imagine how strong the Level 6 Long family of the Thundercloud City was. Long family's main hall. Long Yulong and Long Haosher sat at the top, accompanied by Long Li, the third generation's eldest Long Ying, the second Long Chun, the third Long Shi, and the seventh Long Ao. Nephew Yulong, may I know why you are here this time? Long Yulong had an arrogant look. He did not put the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family and Long Haosher in his eyes. With a trace of contempt, he said, Long Haosher, I am here on behalf of the Long family to investigate the Xiantian Beast Core on Black Ghost. Long Haosher? Long Ao and the other four's faces turned ugly when they heard Long Yulong directly call out Long Haosher's name. Long Yulong, I have something to ask. Are the Thundercloud City's Long family and the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family of the Long family? No matter how arrogant Long Yulong was, he would not dare to joke about this kind of thing. Long family was one of the top forces in the continent. Even the Thundercloud City's Long family was insignificant in front of the Long family. Although his face turned ugly, Long Yulong still nodded and replied, no matter if it's the Long family of the Scarlet Fire Town or the Long family of the Thundercloud City, they are both part of the Long family. Now that you've admitted it, it's easy. Since that's the case, I want to ask you, as a member of the Long clan, shouldn't you show due respect to my grandfather? Before Long Yulong could refute, Long Ao continued, I thought that the disciples of the big families would be more cultured than us. Now it seems that hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. Long Ao's counterattack made the others, including Long Haosher, exclaim in their hearts. However, Long Yulong was still a member of the Thundercloud City's Long family. His status and strength were there for all to see. After coughing twice, Long Haosher immediately came out to smooth things over. His voice seemed to be very angry as he scolded, Ao, don't be rude. Long Yulong was not as angry as expected. He only sneered and said, what a sharp tongue. What a good stand-up for others. However, Long Ao, you can rest assured that I will not do anything to you within a year. After a year, I will defeat you in front of everyone in the Long family in a battle of life and death. At that time, I hope that you will not forget our agreement. Seeing the cold smile on Long Yulong's face, everyone was completely stunned. What agreement of a year? What battle of life and death? What was going on? Before Long Haosher and the others could ask, Long Ao had already stood up and said with a firm voice, after a year, I will definitely defeat you in a battle of life and death. Defeat me? Long Yulong's face was still filled with disdain and disdain. He shook his head. His meaning was very clear. You are not capable. Long Yulong was not the only one who thought so. Even the other members of the Long family, including Long Haosher, thought so. Chapter 12. Nephew Yulong, Ao, or doesn't know any better. Please be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to his level. Long Haosher was completely dumbfounded. Even now, he couldn't believe that his grandson would suddenly challenge Long Yulong. Xiantian martial artist. Long Yulong was a genuine Xiantian martial artist. Even if Long Ao's cultivation speed was fast, it was impossible for him to reach the Xiantian realm in a year's time. Once the two of them fought to the death, the result could be imagined. But since things had already reached this point, how could Long Yulong give up? He waved his hand and said, I already investigated the matter of the Xianyang Beast Core last night. It really has nothing to do with you. But I won't give up on the 1-year agreement between me and Longao. Goodbye. Long Yulong stood up and let out a meaningful laugh before leaving. 1 year later, I'll let you know the difference between a human and an ant. Ha ha ha. Long Yulong laughed wildly as he stepped out of the hall and quickly left. Seventh brother, you were too reckless this time. Long Ying's expression was a bit ugly. As the number one of the Long family's third generation, Long Ying's strength was obvious. But even so, he didn't dare to challenge Long Yulong. In the martial sky continent, martial strength was respected. Strength levels were very strict. Wanting to challenge someone of a higher level was practically an impossible matter. Countless people knew what the difference between Houtian and Xiantian martial artists represented. In the eyes of Xiantian martial artists, Houtian martial artists were always a joke. In countless years, there had never been a case where a Houtian martial artist defeated a Xiantian martial artist. It was because of this that no one was optimistic about Longao challenging Long Yulong. They all thought that Longao was courting death. I know what I'm doing. Although I don't know what happened between you and Long Yulong last night, Grandpa will only tell you one thing, and that is that it is impossible for a Houtian warrior to defeat a Xiantian warrior. This is an eternal truth that no one can break. Really? Looking at the stubborn Longao who was prepared to go his own way, everyone was so angry that they laughed. He was really overestimating himself. Long Haosher knew his grandson's personality the best. He was someone who had persevered for 10 years, worked hard for 10 years, and never gave up no matter how much he was bullied. Once he had decided on something, it was very difficult for him to change his mind because of others. Have you really thought it through? Yes, grandfather. I've already decided. No matter what happens, I'll keep the appointment a year later. I'll defeat Long Yulong in a battle of life and death. Very well. Since you are my, Long Haosher's, grandson, Long Haosher can only choose to support you. Grandpa. Long Haosher waved his hand and stopped Long Ying from saying anything. He continued, from today onwards, the family will do our best to nurture you. If you need any help, just tell your second uncle. The family can only do this much for you. Thank you, Grandpa. Longao also knew that his grandfather and the family had already done their utmost. After all, the other party was the 6th-rank Long family of Thundercloud City. After leaving the hall, Longao directly returned to his courtyard. At this time, Long Fu's voice sounded. Master, I've already refined the Xiantian Beast Core you gave me earlier into energy and transferred it into your body. You can cultivate now. Nodding his head, Longao did not hesitate. He immediately sat on the ground and began to cultivate with the help of the Xiantian Beast Core's energy. It had to be said that the energy refined from the Xiantian Beast Core was very powerful. It was a bit difficult to fuse with it. Under normal circumstances, if a Houtian realm warrior forcefully swallowed the Xiantian Beast Core, there would only be one result. His body would explode and he would die. But the problem now was different. With the help of Long Fu in the Dragon Seal space, the Xiantian Beast Core would be refined into the purest energy by the blood pool. Because of this, Longao was confident that he could defeat Long Yulong in the life and death battle a year later. So what if Long Yulong was a Xiantian realm warrior? The news of Longao challenging Long Yulong had spread throughout the Long family in the blink of an eye. In less than half an hour, the news had spread throughout the entire Scarlet Fire town. Everyone who knew about this thought that Longao could not bear the humiliation and the title of trash for so many years and wanted to commit suicide. Long Yulong was a genius from the 6th-rank family of Thundercloud City. At such a young age, he had already reached the Xiantian realm. In the Scarlet Fire town, he was definitely a peak figure. Even the strongest of the 4 great families could not be compared with him. For a time, the hottest topic in the entire Scarlet Fire town was the matter of the Long family's trash challenging the 6th-ranked genius of Thundercloud City, Long Yulong. Regarding the discussion in the Scarlet Fire town, the Long family's response was silence. However, there were rumors that since Longao challenged Long Yulong, the Long family began to focus on cultivating Longao. They hoped that in the life and death battle a year later, he could defeat Long Yulong in one fell swoop. What a joke! The Long family's action was just a joke in the eyes of everyone in the Scarlet Fire Town. A Hotion warrior wanted to defeat a Sciention warrior? A trash wanted to defeat a genius? Was it possible? In the entire Scarlet Fire Town, no one was optimistic about Longao's chances. There were even some people who had already started to set up a gambling house, betting that Longao would lose and be beaten to death by Longyalong. Regarding all this, whether it was the Long family or Longao himself, they all chose to remain silent. Long family, in a dilapidated courtyard. Mysterious heavenly finger, the first finger. Longao flew up and pointed his finger in the air. A white stream of chi instantly shot out and directly passed through the huge rock in front of him. Without any sound, a small hole appeared on the huge rock. Landing on the ground and looking at the small hole on the huge rock, Longao was pleasantly surprised. He said to himself, "Mysterious heavenly finger is really powerful." Mysterious heavenly finger was a martial skill that Longao had comprehended from Mysterious Heavenly Nine Transformations. After practicing for an entire night, he was finally able to use the first finger of Mysterious Heavenly Finger. As for its power, it was much stronger than Heart-Locking Palm. Mysterious Heavenly Finger had a total of 9 fingers, and each finger was more powerful than the previous one. Longao was looking forward to it. If he could use the 9th finger, he wondered how powerful it would be. Not continuing to practice, Longao left the family and headed towards the market. According to the agreement, he was going to practice the Wang family's martial skill, Merciful Hand, with Yu-In today. Ever since he had accepted Yu-In, Longao had completely approved of this simple girl. Not long after, he had already arrived at the market. Outside a secluded house. According to Wang Yuin's intention, she didn't want others to know that she had also practiced the Wang family's martial techniques. After all, martial techniques were incomparably important to every family, even if he was the son-in-law of the Wang family. Dang dang. Hearing the knocking sound, Yu-In opened the door. Seeing the youth in front of her, she said happily, "Come in. I have good news to tell you." Chapter 13. Good news? Seemingly curious, when they entered the house, Longao asked curiously, "What's the matter that made you so happy?" With a mysterious smile, Yu-In pulled Longao to sit down. A servant served them 2 cups of tea, and then she said happily, "Longao, to tell you the truth, a super expert passed by Chihua Town yesterday, and I just happened to meet him. I don't know if it's luck, but this senior wants to take me as his disciple." "What level is this expert at?" "I don't know, but this senior has already said that in less than 3 months, my cultivation will be able to break through to the Sciention realm in one fell swoop." Break through to the Sciention realm in 3 months? Longao was very clear in his heart that the expert Yu-In met yesterday should not be an ordinary person. After all, not everyone could help Yu-In break through to the Sciention realm in a short 3 months. "Yesterday, I saw this senior attack with my own eyes. He killed a Sciention spiritual beast with one palm, and his aura made me unable to move." Hearing this, Longao could already be sure that this senior was definitely a super expert. For Yu-In to be able to take such an expert as her master, he was sincerely happy for Yu-In. "Yu-In, this is your chance. No matter what, you have to grasp it well."
Yes.
For some reason, Yu-Yin's face was a little lonely, and there were traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. She said, "Master has already said that this time I have to leave with him. The shortest is 3 years, and the longest is 10 years. I'm not allowed to come back during this time." Yu-In did not continue speaking after saying this, but the meaning in her words was very clear. She looked pitifully at the person she loved beside her, and her reluctance to part was self-evident. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't soft-hearted. However, Longao knew very well that he couldn't be so selfish because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Yu-In. No matter what happened, he couldn't miss it. "Yu-In, 3 years, even if it's 10 years, to us, it's just a blink of an eye. I believe that when we meet again, whether it's you or me, we'll show each other a different side of ourselves. What do you think?" All right. I'm just a little reluctant." After I leave this time, I'll leave the family to you. Don't worry, I will. After that, the two of them didn't say anything else. Just like that, the two of them looked at each other in silence, cherishing the last days they had together. Both of them knew that after this parting, they wouldn't see each other again for at least 3 years and at most 10 years. Dusk. Longao reluctantly left the house. The moment he turned around, he suddenly realized that after so many years, Yu Yin's figure had never disappeared from his heart. Smiling, thinking about the person he loved, Longao smiled. Mark it. Longao was just about to return to the family to continue his training when a group of people walked in front of him. The youth at the front was Longao's nemesis, the genius of the Yang family, Yang Buju. At the age of 18, he had already broken through to the 7th layer of inner strength. Yo, isn't this the trash of the Long family? Without any expression on his face, Longao chose to ignore him. However, he did not want to cause trouble, but there were people who wanted to cause trouble and stopped him. Yang Buju said with a cold face, "Last time, there was a woman supporting you. I want to see which woman you can hide behind as a shield this time." Scram. Trash will always be trash. Other than shouting a few times, all you can do is hide behind a woman and be a pretty boy. Longao, kneel down before our young master. Maybe our young master is in a good mood and will let you go temporarily. Otherwise, a dog will always be a dog. Helplessly shaking his head, Longao's face was full of disdain. Your King looking for death. The Yang family servant took advantage of the fact that his young master was by his side and that his opponent was trash. In a fit of anger, he directly struck out with a palm. The strength of the palm was so great that it was actually a martial artist. Only, it was a martial artist at the 2nd layer of physical strength. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a sneer. Unable to bear it, Longao didn't have the slightest intention of dodging. He also struck out with a finger. A palm and a finger collided in an instant. Following that, the miserable sound of a pig being slaughtered resounded in all directions. The originally sparse crowd instantly became a sea of people. Seeing that it was the Yang family's genius and the Long family's trash, everyone paused for a moment, wanting to see what would happen next. Longao himself was very famous in Scarlet Fire Town, especially not long ago. When the news of him challenging Long Yulong spread throughout Scarlet Fire Town, his name became even more famous. Everyone thought that Longao wanted to commit suicide. No one believed that Longao was a match for Long Yulong. Trash, you actually dare to hit my people? The best way to make a dog not bark is to beat him until he doesn't bark. Thump. After being struck by Longao's mysterious heavenly finger, the Yang family servant's body directly fell to the ground. He didn't even have the chance to scream. His body trembled a few times, and just like that, he died. Longao killed the Yang family servant? This time, the surrounding crowd let out a cold gasp. However, the majority of people still had the mentality of watching a good show. They wanted to see what would happen to Yang Buju. As a genius of the Yang family, how could Yang Buju stand the other side killing his dog right under his nose? If this matter were to spread, where would his face go? Where would the Yang family's face go? It was precisely because of this that Yang Buju shouted, "You're courting death." Then, with endless anger, he fiercely chopped towards Longao. As an expert of the 7th celestial layer of internal force, Yang Buju's attack brought about a violent storm. His internal force was endless. If this palm hit, even if he didn't die, he would become disabled. Longao's eyes turned cold. Of course, he wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that Yang Buju obviously wanted his life. Since that was the case, why should he continue to endure? Was he going to sit here and wait for death? You asked for it. At this moment, Longao completely exploded. This was because martial artists were all about bravery. Once there was an inner demon in one's heart, it would be even more difficult to break through the bottleneck in the future. Dodging sideways, Longao instantly used the mysterious heavenly finger. A terrifying force suddenly shot out from his index finger. Perhaps because Yang Buju didn't think that his opponent would be so strong, he was still a step too slow after dodging. He was hit by the force of the finger, and a scream rang out. Following that, a bloody wound appeared on Yang Buju's chest. Seventh layer of internal strength. It seemed that to kill Yang Buju with one finger, with his current strength, it was still somewhat impossible. However, things had already reached this point. Of course, Longao wouldn't stop here. He took advantage of the victory to pursue. Chapter 14. The mysterious Sky Finger was unstoppable. Bastard! You dare? With an angry roar, Yang Buju's father, Yang Chun, a martial artist of the 10th layer of inner strength, suddenly appeared. His face was filled with anger, and his attacks were merciless. It was obvious that he wanted to kill his opponent. Longao was confident in his own strength, but with his current strength, he was still not a match for a martial artist in the 10th layer of inner strength. However, Longao did not retreat at all. He still used the mysterious Sky Finger and the merciful hand. Boom! The two collided, and internal strength burst out. Longao was fiercely hit, and a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. His body was on the verge of collapse, and he could fall down at any time. Yang Chun, who had suddenly appeared, was surprised to see that this waste could actually catch his palm. Because he had just used a few % of his strength, he was very clear in his heart. Not to mention a waste, even a martial artist in the 8th heavenly layer would not be able to bear it. Bullying the small, the Yang family is really despicable and shameless. Humph, you use little tricks to win my son, but you still want to kill him. Little bastard, do you think that just because you are a member of the Long family, I won't dare to kill you? Don't put your shamelessness on others. Who is right and who is wrong, there is justice. But today's hatred, I will definitely take revenge. Revenge? Yang Chun sneered, and his face instantly turned cold. Murderous intent filled his body, and he coldly said, "You won't have another chance, because today you will die." Saying this, Yang Chun's body moved again. Perhaps he was afraid of the opponent's strength and age, but this time Yang Chun clearly had the intention to kill. He did not care about the Long family behind the youth. Yang Chun, do you still want face? Just as the voice fell, a figure quickly came, and in the blink of an eye, there was no mercy. In an instant, the two had already exchanged 3 moves. Yang Chun was obviously not a match and was hit by a palm. He screamed, and his body was like a kite with a broken string, falling backward. As a martial artist of the 10th layer, Yang Chun barely stopped, but his body was also on the verge of collapse, and his face was pale. He looked at the man who suddenly appeared in front of him, and said in a very sinister voice, "Longi, you dare to make a move? Why wouldn't I dare? You dared to kill my son, not to mention hitting you, even if I kill you. I believe no one will stand out to say a word. Do you believe me?" Hearing Longi's words, Yang Chun's face was ugly to the extreme. Yang Chun knew very well that if the other party dared to kill him, the family would definitely not let the Long family go, but in any case, he could not afford to lose. Longao, just you wait. I will definitely settle the score with you for today's humiliation. As you wish. Looking at the gradually disappearing figures of the Yang family, the surrounding crowd also began to disperse gradually. However, for the whole day, the topic of discussion in the Red Fire Town was about what had happened between the two families in the bazaar. "Father, come with me." Longao shrugged helplessly because he couldn't tell what his father's expression was. He could only follow behind him and walk towards the Long family. In Long Yi and Mu Lin's room. "Ao, come here quickly. I missed you so much." Mu Lin, Longao's mother, was also a member of the Mu family in Thundercloud City. Her status in the Long family was very high. The reason was very simple. Mu Lin had a huge family behind her. The mother and son had not seen each other for a long time. They hugged each other and told each other about their affection. Only in front of his parents, Longao would completely relax because he knew that in this world, there were only 2 people who would not harm him. One was his father, and the other was his mother. "Well, Ao, I have something to ask you now. I heard that not long ago, you have issued a challenge to Long Yulong. Is there such a thing?" It turned out to be like this. Longao was still doubting why his parents would suddenly go back on their words. It was not the family annual meeting. It turned out that it was for his own matters. It was precisely because of this that a trace of warmth flowed through his heart. This was the closest family. This kind of love was selfless and only parents could do it. Father, I have already challenged Long Yulong. 1 year later, I will also defeat him. Then tell me, what is your current cultivation level? Long Yi looked deeply at his son in front of him. After returning to the family, Long Yi was the first to know about his son's situation. He had successfully condensed his inner strength. From now on, his son could be like others and work towards a higher level of martial arts. 7th layer of inner strength. Long Ao did not hide anything from his parents. 7th layer of inner strength? After all, not long ago, Ao was just a piece of trash who had yet to condense his inner force. How did his son become a martial artist of the 7th firmament in just a few days? How did his son become a martial artist of the 7th firmament in the blink of an eye? Long Yi was very clear about what it meant to be a martial artist in the 7th layer of inner strength. If that was really the case, then how was he a trash? He was obviously a super genius. Long Yi seemed to be a little uncertain. He asked again, Aoer, say it again. What is your current cultivation level? Father, I have already reached the 7th layer of inner strength. Not to mention Long Yi. Even Long Ao's mother seemed to be a little confused as she looked at her son in front of her. Suddenly, Long Yi looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Tears seemed to be flowing from the corners of his eyes. 10 years, 10 whole years. His son had fallen from a genius to a trash. Although he did not know the reason, the truth was in front of his eyes. In these 10 years, Long Yi had never given up. He had thought of countless ways to help Long Ao successfully condense his inner strength. Perhaps the heavens had eyes. He, Long Ao's son, was not a trash. Aoer, good job. I am happy to have a son like you. But have you ever thought that Long Yulong is a genius disciple of the Long family in Thundercloud City? His cultivation level has already reached the Xiantian realm. Do you have the confidence to break through to the Xiantian realm in a year? The Xiantian realm was the dream of countless Hotian warriors. But to reach the Xiantian realm was as difficult as climbing the sky. After all, even in the Long family and the entire Scarlet Fire town, there was not a single Xiantian warrior. This in itself was enough to explain everything. Father, I don't know if I can break through to the Xiantian realm in a year. But I do know one thing, and that is to do what I set my mind on. Even if I die, I will succeed in the challenge and defeat Long Yulong. I believe I can do it. At this moment, Long Ao's body emitted an unprecedented firmness and confidence. Long Yi and his wife had been observing this firmness and confidence for the past 10 years. They found that their son had never been more firm and confident than he was now. Their son had changed. Both of them thought at the same time. Chapter 15. Long Yi and Mu Lin stayed in the Long family for 3 days before returning to Thundercloud City. In the following days, Long Ao didn't leave the house. No matter who it was, no one was allowed to disturb him. Long Ao's hard work was famous in Scarlet Fire Town. Because of this, no one cared about him for a month. However, during this period of time, it could be said that the Long family did their best to nurture Long Ao. They even wanted to buy pills for him. A month later, the Long family's martial arts field. The large martial arts field could accommodate thousands of people. The annual internal test of the Long family began today. All the disciples of the Long family would walk up to the stone platform and accept the family's test to see the results of their cultivation in the past year. The test method was very simple. It was a battle between 2 people. Below the stone platform. Have you heard? In this month, the Long family spent a lot of money on that trash. They wanted to buy a pill for him. I heard about it long ago. Grandfather said that in order for Long Ao to challenge Long Yulong, he would do anything to nurture him. I'm puzzled. He's just a trash. No matter how much we nurture him, he's still trash. Trash will always be trash. No matter how hard he works, he can't defeat Long Yulong. The family is really wasting resources to nurture him like this. They might as well nurture someone else. Who knows, Maybe they can nurture an expert for the family. It's a waste. I don't know if water entered that trash's brain. He actually challenged a Sciention realm cultivator. In this month, that trash hasn't left his courtyard. He's really hardworking. The Long clan's disciples mocked Longao in an unrestrained manner. They did not show any mercy because of their brotherly affection. Look, the trash is here. Someone shouted, and everyone looked towards the entrance of the martial arts field. Sure enough, a lazy youth was walking towards the stone platform of the martial arts field at a leisurely pace. I'm angry when I see him. All right, grandfather is watching. Be careful not to be punished. He's just a piece of trash who got lucky. I'll teach him a lesson later. Long In, Long Zhang, and Long Fong did not lower their voices, so of course, Long Ao heard every word. The corner of his mouth curled up into a cold smile as he said indifferently, "If I'm trash, then I'm afraid that you guys are even worse than trash. I really don't know what face you have to stand here and laugh at others. If I were you guys, I would have already bought a kilogram of tofu and slowly killed it. Long Ao you. Remember, those who humiliate others will be humiliated. Those who humiliate others will be humiliated." The three of them didn't make a move. They could only fight like thunder. After all, a month ago, the three of them were almost slapped to death by the other party. What a sharp-tongued trash. Long Ao, I want to see what qualifications you have to be so arrogant. Long Zio, the elder sister of the three, snorted coldly. By the time everyone in the family was done with the test, Long Zio had already arrived at the stone platform. Looking coldly at the young man below the stone platform, Long Zio's voice echoed throughout the martial arts field. Long Ao, I now officially challenge you. Do you dare to accept? No one was surprised because a month ago, Long Zio had already announced that she would officially challenge Long Ao during the family test. No one was stupid. Of course, they knew what Long Zio meant. Other than avenging her brother, she also wanted to humiliate this trash. A month ago, Long Zio's cultivation had successfully broken through to the 7th firmament of internal force. How could a trash be a match for a 7th firmament internal force martial artist? Do you dare to accept? I accept. I accept. I accept. I accept. Long Ao's voice slowly spread out. Everyone was dumbfounded because no one thought that the trash would actually accept the challenge. What was the difference between this and seeking death? In an instant, the martial arts field was in an uproar. Long Haosher's eyes shot out a ray of golden light as he looked at his grandson below the stone platform with interest. Could it be that Ao Er's cultivation had broken through to the 7th firmament of internal force? It seemed a little unlikely, but he firmly believed that his grandson was not a reckless person. Under everyone's mocking and disdainful gazes, Long Ao's body landed lightly on the stone platform. He was face to face with Long Zio, surrounded by his aura. Old 7, if you kneel down and admit your mistake now, I can let you go. Admit my mistake? Shaking his head with a smile, Long Ao suddenly said, if I can't defeat you in one move, I will cut off one of my arms. One move? Looking at the trash on the stone platform, everyone laughed. No one would believe the trash's words. What kind of joke was this? If the trash could defeat Long Zio in one move, then the trash would not be trash anymore. Long Zio also found this a little funny. She coldly mocked, all right, I want to see how you can defeat me in one move. As she spoke, Long Zio moved first. As a martial artist in the 7th firmament of internal force, all the internal force in her body gathered on her palms. She lightly slapped towards Long Ao. The palm might seem light, but everyone knew that it was a very powerful attack. If the trash was hit by it, he would be seriously injured, if not killed. Strike after strike. Long Ao slowly extended his right palm and used Gale Step. At the same time, he quickly used Heart-Locking Palm. At the same time, Long Ao suddenly let out an extremely unpleasant sound wave from his mouth, wailing ghosts and howling wolves. Long Ao had learned this martial arts technique from Long Fu. Although it was only a supportive martial arts technique, its power was not to be underestimated. Actually, with Long Ao's current strength of 8th firmament of internal force, once he used his internal force, He could definitely defeat his opponent in one move. However, Longao did not do that. Instead, he suppressed his own strength. In other words, his cultivation was the same as Longzio's at the seventh firmament of internal force. What's that sound? It's so unpleasant. Seventh firmament of internal force. I didn't expect Ao's cultivation to have also broken through to the seventh firmament of internal force. Longao was so excited that his eyes shone. In just 1 month, his grandson had reached such a level. What did that mean? The genius grandson from 10 years ago had finally returned. 10 years. For 10 whole years, Longao had always thought that his genius grandson would never rise. It seemed that the heavens were still looking out for the Long family. Wailing ghosts and howling wolves. The unpleasant sound wave disturbed Longzio's mind. When she suppressed her mind and was ready to continue attacking, a powerful force came. Before Longzio could figure out what was happening, her body was like a kite with a broken string. She was sent flying backwards. Plop. Longzio's body came into close contact with the stone platform. Longzio was sent flying with one palm. Looking at the young man standing proudly on the stone platform, everyone was completely dumbfounded. The entire training field was silent. Chapter 16. The Long family's martial arts field was silent. Impossible. This is impossible. How could you defeat me? Longzio looked at the young man in front of her in disbelief. She was unwilling to accept this result. She struggled to get up from the ground, but she still fell to the ground with a plop. There was an uproar. Everyone in the martial arts field was dumbfounded when they saw Longzio fall to the ground. They looked at the young man standing on the stone platform in shock. Was this still the same trash? He snorted. You keep saying that I'm trash. Then what are you? You can't even block a single move from trash. Doesn't that make you worse than trash? I'll say it again. Those who humiliate others will be humiliated. I hope you know what you're doing in the future. Longao, I will definitely get my revenge. Hearing those words, a trace of disdain appeared on Longao's face. He shook his head in disdain and said, You only know how to humiliate the brothers of your clan. People like you will never be able to comprehend the true essence of the martial way in your entire life. Go up and spar with your seventh brother. Remember, don't go too far. Hearing his grandfather's words, everyone was in an uproar again. No one knew what his grandfather meant. Even if Longao could defeat Longzio, it didn't mean that he could fight Longing. Longing was the undisputed number 1 in the 3rd generation of the Long family. He was at the peak of the 8th firmament of internal force and could break through to the 9th firmament of internal force at any time. Who in the 3rd generation of the Long family could be his match? With the counterattack just now, no one dared to look down on Longao anymore. Trash? No one had ever seen a trash defeat a 7th firmament internal force expert in one move. If he could really do it, everyone would want to be trash. But even so, no one was optimistic about Longao. Wanting to counterattack Longing and obtain victory in a single battle was simply impossible. It was precisely because of this that no one understood why their grandfather, Longao, was doing this. Longli was also surprised. He asked, Father, with Longao's strength, how could he be Longying's match? Longao smiled and said, It's okay. Ao's talent and potential are there. If he can fight under Ing's pressure, he might break through. Was it really possible? At this time, Longzio had already been carried away, and the person who replaced her was the number 1 person in the 3rd generation of the Long family, Longing. Seventh brother, you're really amazing. Big brother, please show mercy. Ha ha ha, take this. Although Longying's voice was incomparably relaxed, after he made his move, he appeared abnormally solemn, because he knew that the 7th brother in front of him was no longer the trash that everyone laughed at. It was as if he had returned to the insufferably arrogant super genius from 10 years ago. Of course, Longao wouldn't be so arrogant as to think that he could defeat his big brother with his suppressed strength of the 7th firmament. His aura instantly soared from the 7th firmament to the 8th firmament. When did Ao break through to the 8th level of internal force? Hearing Longao's voice, Everyone was so shocked that they were speechless. No one could believe that the person they thought was a piece of trash would suddenly become a martial artist of the 8th level of internal force. What happened? Longao and Longley stared at the young man who was already fighting on the stone platform. The two of them never thought that in just a month, their grandson-nephew would break through to the 8th firmament of internal force. On the stone platform, the two of them were already fighting. Longao didn't hold back at all because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. He could use this battle with his big brother to gain some insight into the realm that he had just broken through. The wails of ghosts and howls of wolves were ear-piercing and unpleasant to the ear. It affected the opponent's mind. Moreover, Longao used the mysterious heavenly finger. The terrifying power of the finger seemed to be able to penetrate the heavens and gather all the power in the surroundings to a single point. Heart-locking palm and wind steps were both martial arts techniques, but the difference between these two techniques and the mysterious heavenly finger was huge. Seeing Longao's martial arts technique, Longao stood up with a face full of shock. "Father, what's wrong?" Longley was very surprised. He didn't know what was wrong with his father today. It seemed that this was the first time his father had done something so rude. Waving his hand, Longao didn't say anything. However, he was already extremely shocked because he couldn't understand why his grandson would use a Xiantian martial arts technique. Xiantian martial arts technique. Of course, Longao knew what a Xiantian martial arts technique meant. One had to know that Xiantian martial arts techniques were superior to Houtian martial arts techniques. Under normal circumstances, only Xiantian martial artists could use Xiantian martial arts techniques. After all, Xiantian martial arts techniques were supported by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. One had to know that there wasn't a single Xiantian martial arts technique in the entire Scarlet Fire Town. Mysterious heavenly finger. The powerful finger power penetrated through the layers of space like a fierce tiger descending from the mountain. At this moment, Longing felt as if his body was frozen. He could only watch as his 7th brother attacked him, but he couldn't do anything about it. In this situation, Longing clearly knew that he had already lost. However, at this moment, Longao suddenly stopped. He smiled and said, "Big brother, how about we fight to a draw?" A draw? A bitter smile appeared on Longying's face. He helplessly shook his head and said, "7th brother, you don't have to be like this. A loss is a loss. I won't go back on my word. I've lost. I've lost." Hearing Longing admit defeat, everyone was completely dumbfounded. It seemed that no one was willing to accept this result. Their idol, the number 1 person in the 3rd generation of the Long family, had actually been defeated by trash? Just what had happened? What was going on? Today's internal test ends here. Everyone, keep up the good work and do your best. After speaking, Longao led Longao and Longley out of the martial arts field. The martial arts field was still completely silent. Everyone was thinking about what had just happened. The trash of the Long family, and a super trash at that, had actually defeated Long Zio and the number 1 person in the 3rd generation of the Long family, Long Ying. What happened just now? Am I dreaming? Trash actually defeated Big Brother. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Trash? You still dare to call 7th brother trash? At this moment, Longao's status in the Long family had completely changed. After this internal test, no one would think that Longao was trash anymore. Because everyone knew that 10 years ago, that arrogant, peerless genius had finally returned. The return of a genius, the counterattack of a trash. When a person reached a certain height, no one would be jealous, only envious. Chapter 17. In the study room. Aor, did you just use a Xiantian martial skill? Hearing his father's words, Longley was a little shocked because he knew what a Xiantian martial skill meant. A Xiantian martial skill was a powerful Xiantian martial skill. There wasn't a single Xiantian martial skill in the entire Scarlet Fire Town. He stared at his nephew in front of him. Since things had already come to this point, Longao didn't continue to hide it. He nodded and replied, "Yes, grandfather. The Xiantian martial skill I just used is called the mysterious heavenly finger. I learned it by accident." Good, very good. With your talent and this Xiantian martial skill, you may have a chance to win the battle of life and death a year later. Aoer, the family will fully support you. Thank you, grandfather. This was kinship. No matter what happened, the same blood flowed in their bodies. Aoer, although I don't want to admit it, I still admire you. 10 years of persistence, 10 years of hard work. This kind of persistence and perseverance is not something that everyone can do. At least, I can't do it. Longao nodded as if he agreed with his son's words. His face was full of praise. 10 years of persistence, 10 years of hard work. This kind of perseverance was indeed admirable. However, in these 10 years, Longao had been ridiculed and ridiculed. Under such circumstances, how many people could persevere for 10 years? Persevering for 10 years? Working hard for 10 years? Not giving up for 10 years? Longao smiled but didn't say anything. In order to reach the peak of martial arts, in order to not be humiliated, he could only persevere and work hard. No matter what difficulties he encountered, the perseverance and dream in his heart spurred him on. He couldn't give up. After leaving the study room, Longao immediately returned to the courtyard and continued to cultivate. Because his current cultivation was only at the 8th layer of internal strength, there was still a long way to go before he reached the Xiantian realm. He only had 1 year. A year later, if his cultivation was still unable to break through to the Xiantian realm, then the chances of him losing in the battle with Longyulong would be very high. Therefore, the most important thing now was to work hard and cultivate to reach the Xiantian realm as soon as possible. During the internal testing of the Long family, Longao's counterattack had completely shocked everyone. Until now, there were still some who had yet to recover from their shock. They could not understand how the trash could be so powerful out of nowhere. Not only did he defeat Longzio in one move, he even defeated Long Ying in one move. What kind of concept was that? Without a doubt, from now on, the number one person in the 3rd generation of the Long family was no longer Long Ying, but the trash Long Ao who was ridiculed by everyone. Hearing the maid beside the beautiful young girl exclaim, Yi Gucheng nodded proudly and said with a smile, "Yes, I am. Yi Gucheng of the 100 battle ranking list?" Hearing the young man's self-introduction, Long Ao seemed to be a little surprised. As a warrior, especially a young warrior, if he didn't even know the 100 battle ranking list, he didn't deserve to be called a warrior. The 100 battle ranking list was a list that all warriors under the age of 40 in the 9 provinces of the Tianwu continent competed for based on their own strength. There were 900 battle rankings, one for each province. It was said that the top 100 of the 900 battle rankings were all primordial warriors. Especially the top 10 of each 100 battle ranking list, they were all shocking super figures. As the 96th on the 100 battle ranking list and the shocking sword chi just now, Yi Gucheng was already a primordial warrior. It turns out to be Sir Yi. My name is Lu Ji, and I'm from the governor's mansion of Thundercloud City. Hearing the other person's identity, Yi Gucheng's eyes lit up obviously, but it disappeared in a flash. The two girls didn't notice it. Who is this? Long Ao of the Long family in the Red Fire town. You are Long Ao? Hearing the two words Long Ao, Yi Gucheng's face instantly showed a kind of undisguised contempt and ridicule, which made Long Ao a little curious. Did this person know him? Yes. Humph. So you are the trash of the Red Fire town. I have been wondering why a trash like you dares to challenge my good friend Long Yulong. I don't know whether I should say you are brave or not. Or are you out of your mind and acting recklessly? Of course, he is out of his mind and acting recklessly. Hearing Yi Gucheng's words, Lu Ji and the maid beside her burst into laughter. Their faces were also full of contempt and ridicule, and there seemed to be a trace of gloating. A month of life and death experience had caused Long Ao's face to lose some of its youthfulness and become more solemn and stern. What a strong smell of blood! Frowning slightly, Long Ao curiously looked to the left. Not long after, he saw a shocking scene. Not far away, a blood-red saber was spinning in the air. The saber gave off a terrifying bloody aura as it devoured the blood of the surrounding spiritual beasts. Spirit beasts were scattered all around the blood saber. After a rough count, Longao discovered that there were hundreds of corpses of spirit beasts not far away. All of them had their blood absorbed by the blood saber. What's going on? After absorbing for a few minutes, the blood saber gradually stopped. After absorbing the blood of more than 100 spirit beasts, the blood saber's color became even more blood red, as if it had been dyed with blood. Master, this is the supreme artifact, Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber. It has been without a master for a long time. Why don't you take it? Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber? Longao wanted to get this crazy Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber, but seeing the scene just now, he felt a little scared. Master, don't worry, I will help you. Since things had already come to this point, Longao did not continue to hesitate. He slowly walked towards the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber not far away. When he was less than 2 meters away, the tip of the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber suddenly pointed at him. The blade emitted a cold, murderous aura. Immediately stopping, Longao stared at it. Suddenly, a small black seal appeared in his hand. It was the dragon seal. Then, Long Fu's voice came. Master, only by relying on your own strength can you make the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber completely submit. At that time, the dragon seal will help you. Nodding his head, Longao took a deep breath. Holding the dragon seal in his hand, he took a big stride forward and his speed suddenly increased, smashing fiercely towards the wild draw blade. Seeming to have sensed the opponent's battle intent, the wild draw blade let out a cheer. The blade slashed down, and a blood-red blade light streaked across the sky. Startled, Longao did not dare to be careless. He dodged sideways, and the dragon seal in his hand had already smashed out. The dragon seal was controlled by Long Fu. Its speed was very fast, and it directly smashed on the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber. Then, a loud dragon roar resounded through the sky. Then, Longao held the dragon seal and kept smashing the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber. It seemed that he did not expect the opponent's strength to be so strong. Caught off guard, the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber was smashed into a mess. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Longao immediately began to subdue the opportunity according to Long Fu's instructions. First, he dripped the life essence blood in his body into the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber without anyone noticing. Then, he poured a trace of soul power into it. However, the dragon seal in his hand did not relax at all. It became faster and faster. God knows how many times he smashed it. When the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber unknowingly fused with Longao's life essence blood and soul power, it seemed to be a little difficult to accept. The Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber kept wailing and the blade emitted an unhappy aura, as if it was protesting. Longao heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber that had been subdued, he was pleasantly surprised. However, his face was serious as he said, Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber, if you follow me, you will not be disgraced. Don't worry, I can guarantee you that in the future, I will rule the world with you, and let the world know the power of your bloodsucker. It seemed that it was still a little unwilling, but since things had already come to this point, the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber did not continue to insist. It was exactly as the saying goes, if you walk by the river, how can your shoes not be wet? The Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber once again let out a roar. Then the hilt turned and fell into Longao's hand. The bloody light on the blade gradually dissipated, returning to the color and sharpness of an ordinary saber. Holding the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber in his hand, Longao felt a connection with it. His face revealed a trace of undisguised ecstasy. Just as he was about to test the Bloodsucker Frenzy Saber, he exclaimed in surprise and quickly left. Soon, he disappeared without a trace. As soon as Longao left, Yigu Chong, Lu Ji, and the other two rushed over. Looking at the corpses of the spirit beasts all over the ground, the three of them had shock written all over their faces. They did not know what had happened. Chapter 19. Big Brother Yi. What's going on? Lu Ji and Lu Cheng were both girls. They had never seen such a scene. The ground was covered in spirit beast corpses. Shaking his head, Yi Gucheng's expression was grave. This is not normal. Let's quickly take these corpses and leave. The three of them were not fools. Of course, they knew what these spirit beast corpses meant. Once they left with these corpses, they could sell them for a good price. However, just at this moment, a terrifying killing intent came from all directions, instantly enveloping the three of them. Even Yi Gucheng's expression changed. His voice trembled as he said, "We didn't mean to offend, Senior. Please be magnanimous and don't take it to heart." Didn't mean to offend? You're really shameless. Just now, you said you wanted to take away the corpses on the ground. You call that unintentionally offending? Longao, who was hiding behind a big tree, had a mocking smile on his face. Although his strength was not Yi Gucheng's match, the bloody killing intent emitted by the wild devouring blade was enough to intimidate the other party. Furthermore, the spirit beast corpses on the ground were not cheap. Letting Yi Gucheng and the others take advantage of them made him very unhappy. Senior, I think you've misunderstood. I didn't want to touch these spirit beast corpses. I'm also a disciple of the Flowing Cloud sect. Flowing Cloud sect? Hearing Yi Gucheng's self-introduction, Longao was a bit surprised. The Tianwu continent was a continent with many sects, and the Flowing Cloud sect was not a small sect in the Tianwu continent. At the very least, it was above Thundercloud City. No wonder Yi Gucheng was able to enter the Tianwu continent's 100 battle ranking at such a young age. He had the Flowing Cloud sect as his backer. You want to use the Flowing Cloud sect to pressure me? Senior, I wouldn't dare. It's just that this matter is truly a misunderstanding. We also didn't mean to offend you. Senior is a peerless expert, so I don't think you'll haggle over this with us, right? Yi Gucheng was truly a flatterer. Longao was very clear about his own strength. Even with the blood-sucking broadsword, he couldn't defeat them. Just now, he had only been relying on the killing intent of his blood-sucking broadsword to scare them. You can escape death, but you can't escape punishment. Hearing this, the expressions of Yi Gucheng and the others changed once more. Kid, I can let you go, but you have to finish eating the corpse of one of the spirit beasts. Huh. Lu Ji and the other girls' faces turned pale with fright. Just the thought of Yi Gucheng eating the corpses of spirit beasts made the two girls want to vomit. It was too disgusting. Yi Gucheng's expression was extremely ugly. He was no fool. Of course, he knew that the other party was trying to trick him on purpose. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Who asked his strength to be inferior to the other party? The other party had yet to reveal himself, but just the aura that was released made him feel helpless. Yi Gucheng clenched his fists tightly. The fury on his face represented his current mood. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt, but in the end, he suppressed it. I hope Senior will keep his word. Big Brother Yi, you. Waving his hand, Yi Gucheng coldly walked towards the corpses of the spirit beasts. The ground was littered with spirit beasts' corpses. Yi Gucheng wasn't a fool. Of course, he chose the smallest spirit beast's corpse. But even so, this spirit beast's corpse was half the height of a human. Just as he took the first bite, Yi Gucheng almost vomited. However, he suppressed the disgust in his heart and began to eat. After 6 hours, he finally finished eating the entire corpse of the spirit beast. After finishing the last bite, Yi Gucheng even staggered as he walked. He only said a few words, "Let's go." Then, Lu Ji and the other girls supported him and slowly left. Today, I'll let you eat the corpse first. 1 year later, I'll use my own strength to defeat you. Longao looked at the corpses on the ground and seemed to be a little worried. After all, these corpses were too big. He couldn't just carry them away. Long Fu, can I put these corpses into the Dragon Seal space first? Master, no problem. With joy in his heart, Longao placed all the corpses on the ground into the Dragon Seal space along with the blood-sucking blade. His luck in entering the Thundercloud Forest this time was pretty good. Not only did his cultivation successfully break through to the peak of the 9th layer of inner strength, he even obtained the blood-sucking blade. Originally, Longao planned to continue cultivating in the Thundercloud Forest. But after obtaining these corpses, he couldn't wait to return to his family. This was because he knew that in these few months, the family had spent a lot of money to prepare the pills for him to break through. Although no one said anything, he could clearly feel that the family had already tried their best. Furthermore, it was beyond the scope of what they could afford. If he sold these spirit beast corpses, he would definitely be able to get a good price. It could be considered as doing his best for the family. Scarlet Fire Town, Long family. In the quiet martial arts field, Long Li's voice sounded out. He seemed to be in disbelief as he asked, are these your spoils of war from the Thunder Cloud Forest? Seeing his second uncle and grandfather so happy, Long Ao was also very happy. He nodded and said, "You can say so." Long Haosher's face was filled with pride and excitement. After all, having such a grandson was probably the proudest thing in his life. Grandfather, second uncle, I know that in this period of time, the family had spent a lot of money for me. Chapter 20. Long Ao's position in the Long family was no longer the same as before. Now, no one in the Long family dared to mock Long Ao as trash. Among the third-generation disciples, anyone who saw Long Ao nodded respectfully. Seeing all this, Long Ao finally smiled. 10 years of persistence, 10 years of persistence, finally paid off. Thinking about it, it was all worth it. Seventh brother, Grandpa wants you to go to the main hall. At this moment, Long Zheng looked as respectful as he could. Compared to a month ago, he was like a completely different person. Long Ao, of course, knew why everyone's attitude changed. If he hadn't defeated Big Brother and Long Zio, would these people still be so respectful to him? Nodding, Long Ao didn't care about what happened back then. No matter what, the same blood flowed in their bodies. Then, Long Ao got up and walked towards the main hall of the Long family. Just as he reached the main hall of the Long family, Long Ao heard a roar coming from the main hall. Long Haosher, no matter what, you have to give me an explanation today. Damn it, my precious grandson's Dantian was destroyed by that trash. This is equivalent to depriving my grandson of his right to cultivate. In the main hall of the Long family, Yang Guantian, Yang Qian, and the pale Yang Buju stared angrily at Long Haosher, who was sitting in the main seat, and Long Li, the first person of the third generation, Long Ying. With a sneer, Long Haosher said, "Yang Guantian, are you out of your mind? Who knows how many hundreds of years have passed since the battle between my precious grandson and Yang Buju? Isn't it a little late for you to come to me to talk about this? All right, if anything happens to your precious grandson in the future, will you blame it on my grandson? You." Before Yang Guantian could flip out, a youth came in. He had sharp eyebrows and a resolute face. His face was less tender and more stern. When he saw the culprit who destroyed his precious grandson, he nearly made a move. He roared furiously, "Trash! You actually dared to destroy my grandson's Dantian. Are you tired of living? Trash?" With a cold laugh, Long Ao first bowed to his grandfather and second uncle, then said with some mockery, "If I'm trash, isn't your precious grandson worse than trash? You dare to talk back to me? I'll kill you, trash." Enough, Yang Guantian, you have to remember, this is the Long family, not your young family. Are you looking for a beating? Seeing that Long Haosher was truly enraged, Yang Guantian restrained himself slightly. However, when he thought about how this trash had destroyed his grandson's Dantian and made it impossible for him to cultivate for the rest of his life, he could not help but vent the rage in his heart. It turned out that after the battle between Long Ao and Yang Buju looked fine on the surface, but a month later, for some unknown reason, his Dantian was suddenly crippled, and he could no longer continue to cultivate. This debt, of course, the Yang family would count it on Long Ao. When I fought with Yang Buju, everyone was watching. In the end, you took Yang Buju out of the ring. I want to ask, was Yang Buju's Dantian destroyed? Yang Chun was speechless. After all, his son's Dantian was not destroyed, but he was not a fool. He was 100% sure that the destruction of his son's Dantian was done by the trash in front of him. Yang Chen coldly snorted and said, "Trash is trash. You dare to do it, but don't dare to admit it. Haha, young Guantian, young Chun, since you want to say that I did it, then I'll admit it. What do you want? What do you want? Hearing Long Ao admit it, Long Haosher and Long Li were shocked, but young Guantian sneered and said, "What an arrogant trash. Killing a person must pay with his life. Since you crippled my grandson's Dantian, then I will cripple your Dantian as well." "Young Guantian, you dare." "Grandfather, leave this matter to me." "Young Guantian, our battle was a life and death battle. In the end, your son openly went to the ring and attacked me. It was already very shameless. Not to mention that young Buju's Dantian was destroyed. Even if he died, he only has himself to blame." That was the truth. Young Guantian and young Chun clearly knew that the fault was not with the Long family, but the anger in their hearts could not be suppressed. If they let it go, how could the Young family establish a foothold in the Red Fire Town in the future? Regardless of whether this matter was done by me or not, I believe that your Young family has already recognized me. In that case, this matter will be settled today. Young Chun, I formally challenge you. If I lose, I'll let the Young family deal with me. But if you lose, immediately get out of my Long family. Formally challenge you? Hearing Long Ao's challenge to Young Chun, young Guantian was the first to laugh. It was as if he had heard the most ridiculous thing in the world. A trash actually wanted to challenge his son? Aoer, don't be reckless. Seeing that his grandson wanted to challenge Young Chun, Long Haosher seemed to be a little surprised. After all, Young Chun was a martial artist in the 10th layer of internal strength. With Aoer's current strength, how could he be Young Chin's opponent? Aoer, leave this matter to the family. You quickly withdraw. Long Li was also a little anxious. He personally stepped forward to prepare to pull his reckless nephew away. But Long Ao said with unusual firmness, "Grandfather, second uncle, leave this matter to me." Seeming to be a little surprised, they looked deeply at their grandson, nephew, in front of them. Whether it was Long Haosher or Long Li, they both sat down again. In their hearts, they were more or less worried. "Young Chin, do you dare to accept the challenge?" "Ha ha ha, why wouldn't I dare to accept the challenge? Today, I want to see why a trash is so arrogant. Long Ao, I'll make it clear in advance. Fists and feet have no eyes and swords are ruthless. If anything happens to you, our Young family will not be responsible." Young Chin's meaning was very simple. In this battle, he wanted to avenge his son. Even if he killed the opponent, it had nothing to do with himself or the family behind him. Hearing this, Long Haosher and Long Li's faces instantly turned cold. Just before Long Haosher was about to explode in anger, Long Ao said, "No problem. I also hope that if your Dantian is also destroyed, I hope that some people, some families will not shamelessly come again." After saying this, Long Ao turned and left the hall. Long Haosher and Long Li also followed out. "Father, Chun, this is an excellent opportunity for us to take revenge. Do not hold back in the slightest. Directly kill without discussion. All the consequences will be borne by father." "Understood." Nodding viciously, the three people of the Young family also left the hall. The news of Long Ao challenging Young Chun spread throughout the Long family in the blink of an eye. Not long after, the open space in front of the hall was filled with Long family disciples. There were also Young family disciples and people from other families who heard the news. Chapter 21. Long Ao. This waste actually wants to challenge the master. He really doesn't know how to live. Waste is waste. If he can beat the master, I'll go eat shit. Listening to the ridicule coming from all around, Young Chin sneered, his face full of contempt and contempt. He coldly said, "If you can withstand 10 moves from me, I'll consider myself to have lost." 10 moves? Lightly shaking his head, Long Ao suddenly said under everyone's puzzled gaze, "Within 9 moves, I will let you have intimate contact with the ground." Hearing this, in the surrounding crowd, who didn't know who couldn't hold back their laughter. "Long Ao, I would like to see how you are going to defeat me in 9 moves. Being looked down upon like this was simply unbearable. Even if the secret cave could endure it, the chrysanthemum could not endure it." With a stride, Yang Chen's body had already rushed out. As a martial artist in the 10th layer of internal strength, his powerful internal strength fiercely split his palms. Before the person arrived, the terrifying strength had already arrived. Longao didn't dare to have the slightest carelessness, because he was very clear in his heart how big was the gap between the 9th layer of internal strength and the 10th layer of internal strength. Therefore, he had to go all out. It was best to be able to do it quickly. It was precisely because of this, Longao directly used the ghost wailing and wolf howling and the mysterious sky finger. The powerful finger fiercely shot out. In the blink of an eye, the two people fought together, one fist and one finger colliding, the internal strength shooting out in all directions, like two boulders colliding, sparks flying everywhere. 9th layer of internal strength. Looking at his grandson who was already fighting, Long Haosher's eyes burst out a golden light, because he didn't expect that in just a month, his grandson's cultivation would break through again, becoming a martial artist in the 9th layer of internal strength. Father, we can't let Yang Chun hurt Ao. Waving his hand, Long Haosher said, I know in my heart. After the collision, the two people each took 3 steps back. Looking at the shaky youth, Yang Chun seemed to be a little surprised. Without the slightest mercy, he rushed out again. In the blink of an eye, the two people had already fought for 3 rounds, and there was no clear winner or loser. The crowd watching, from just a moment ago, also became silent. Everyone's eyes were wide open, staring at the scene, as if they didn't want to miss any place. The gap between realms was indeed not easy to make up for, but after a month of continuous fighting with spirit beasts, Long Ao's combat power had obviously increased by a level. Coupled with the heavenly mysterious finger, he was actually able to challenge someone of a higher realm and fight to a draw with a martial artist of the 10th level of internal energy. Just this point, Long Haosher was enough to look down. It's already the 5th move. I don't know if this wish will come true or not. This wish is very longs to lose. Listening to the Long family's unscrupulous ridicule, the Yang family's disciples were depressed to the extreme, because no one would have thought that their master couldn't even deal with a waste. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would choose to believe it. Long Haosher and Long Li were extremely excited when they saw their grandson, nephew, attacking Long Yulong. They knew that if their grandson, nephew, continued to cultivate, he might be able to defeat Long Yulong in a year's time. If that was the case, the Long family would be able to hold their heads high. 5 moves had passed. As the battle continued to escalate, Yang Chen's face became more and more ugly. He never thought that the strength of the opponent was so strong to be able to fight with him and not fall into a disadvantage. I can't lose even if I die. Yang Chun was very clear in his heart. Not only can he not lose, he must defeat the opponent within 10 moves. Otherwise, where would his face go? Where would the Yang family's face go? How would the Yang family stand in the Red Fire Town in the future? Humph, you're courting death. Yang Chun had been forced to retreat step by step. If he continued like this, he knew that it was impossible to defeat the opponent within 10 moves. For himself, and also for the family, Yang Chun suddenly pulled out a software from his waist, and under Long Ao's sideways dodge, he instantly slashed the sword. If not for Long Ao's timely dodge, he believed that this sword was enough to take his life. Yang Chun, you're despicable. Long Haosher, it was agreed that they would fight one-on-one. If you make a move, wouldn't it be a bit of a violation of the rules? Looking at Yang Guantian who stopped him, Long Haosher was simply furious to the extreme, and almost roared. Your shameless son actually used a dirty trick, using a weapon, Yang Guantian. Aren't you too shameless? With a cold snort, Yang Guantian disapprovingly said in a cold voice, it seems that there is no rule that you can't use a weapon. You go to hell. Looking at his baby grandson being attacked, Long Haosher really couldn't bear it, but in the end, he still endured it, because as Yang Guantian said, there was no rule that you can't use a weapon in battle. Humph, the Yang family is really shameless enough, not only bullying the small, but also suddenly using a weapon to attack. I think Yang Chun shouldn't be called Yang Chun in the future. 5th brother, what should we call him? Just call him Shameless Yang, or just call him Despicable Yang. Not only the disciples of the Long family, But even the people of the other two families, the Nangong family and the Wang family, also laughed. Chapter 22. Blood-Colored Sword Aura? Looking at Longao's blood-colored sword aura, everyone knew what it meant. Sword chi, sword aura. Only a Xiantian martial artist could condense it. In that case, how did Longao do it? Everyone was completely shocked by Longao's blood-colored sword aura. Each and every one of them was as dumb as a wooden chicken. Even young Guantian seemed to have forgotten to rescue him. By the time he recovered, he discovered that it was already too late. Impossible. This is impossible. You are not a Xiantian martial artist. How can you release a sword aura? At this moment, Yang Chen's face was full of shock because he did not believe that his opponent was a Xiantian martial artist. Die. Without giving Yang Chen any chance, the blood-colored sword aura was as fast as lightning. It directly split Yang Chen in two. Perhaps the sword aura was too fast, until Yang Chen fell to the ground and came into close contact with the ground. Blood gushed out. Yang Chen was dead. The number one person in the second generation of the Yang family was killed by Longao's sword aura. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone was dumbfounded. Even the people from the Long family were dumbfounded. They didn't know how Longao did it. With the cultivation of the 9th celestial layer, he killed a martial artist of the 10th celestial layer. Is this possible? Beast, I'll kill you. Looking at his son lying on the ground, Yang Guantian finally came back to his senses. With a roar, he rushed out. However, Long Haosher, who was already prepared, had already made his move. The two martial artists at the peak of the 10th layer of internal strength collided and Yang Guantian's body flew high into the air. In midair, Yang Guantian turned and landed steadily. But at a glance, people with discerning eyes could see that Yang Guantian's body had begun to tremble. It seemed that he could fall at any time. Standing on the side, Yang Buju was already scared silly. He coldly looked at the corpse on the ground, his eyes full of shock. Yang Guantian, in the battle between Longao and Yang Chen, life and death are up to the heavens. Are you not putting my Long family in your eyes by doing this? Yang Guantian furiously looked at the young man in front of him, and a shocking killing intent exploded out from his body. However, in the end, his reason prevailed over his impulsiveness because he knew that if he made a move, Long Haosher would definitely make a move. If that happened, he would also die here, and the Yang family would truly be finished. Long Ao, the enmity of my son's death is absolutely irreconcilable. One day, I will tear you to pieces. As you wish. Impotence, take your father's body and let's go. Yang Guantian, Yang Buju, and the rest of the Yang family didn't dare to stay any longer. They quickly left, and the people of the other two families also slowly dispersed in shock. Since then, the Long family's lobby suddenly erupted in cheers and surprises, because no one thought that Long Ao could kill Yang Chen. People are like this. When they stand at a certain height, there will be no envy, jealousy, or hatred, but only deep worship. At this moment, Long Ao was in such a situation. Even the people who ridiculed and bullied him had completely changed. After dismissing everyone in the study, Ao, this time you killed Yang Chen. Yang Guantian will definitely not let it go. So from now on, you have to be extra careful, understand? Nodding, Long Ao said, Grandfather, you can rest assured, even if Yang Guantian personally comes, I have the confidence to deal with him. Looking at the grandson in front of him, Long Haosher found that he was now more and more unable to see his precious grandson clearly. In just a few months, from a waste that everyone ridiculed, to a martial artist in the 9th layer of internal strength, such a change seemed to be a bit too fast. The news of the battle between Long Ao and Yang Chen, and the news of Long Ao beheading Yang Chen with one slash, seemed to have grown wings, and instantly spread throughout the entire Scarlet Fire town. The people who heard the news all turned pale with fright. They didn't know how the trash of the Long family did it. Long Ao, now the most famous person in Red Fire Town. Yang family, lobby. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Yang Guantian's face was gloomy to the extreme. and the people standing around were all uneasy. Buju, immediately take my letter and this thing to Black Wind Mountain, and invite the Black Wind Taoist to come. Black Wind Taoist? It seemed that he didn't know what his grandfather meant, but the hatred of killing his father was irreconcilable, not to mention that his Dantian was also destroyed by the other party. Yang Buju took the letter and the thing, immediately got up and went to Black Wind Mountain. Only Yang Guantian was left in the great hall. He glanced at the corpses on the ground. Suddenly, Yang Guantian laughed sinisterly and said to himself, "Long family, I will make you regret what you did today. I will definitely exterminate your entire family. Not a single one will be left alive." When Wang Yuan heard that Long Ao killed Yang Chun, she immediately rushed to the Long family. Seeing Long Ao, she asked worriedly, "Long Ao, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Why are you here?" "Humph, such a big matter. You didn't even inform me. If something happened to you, what should I do?" Hearing this, Long Ao laughed. "You still know how to laugh? Long Ao, let me tell you, you killed Yang Qin, Yang Guantian, and the Yang family will definitely not let this matter go. Later I will tell grandfather to let the Wang family and the Long family join hands. I want to see what the Yang family can do." The overbearing woman was indeed the overbearing woman. Even the words she said were so domineering. Chapter 23. Along the way, Long Ao relied on the energy refined by Long Fu in the blood pool to rapidly increase his strength. He had to admit that a Xiantian beast core contained a huge amount of energy. Even with the bottomless pit of the saint's desolation physique, Long Ao's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th heavenly layer. But if he wanted to break through to the 10th heavenly layer, a Xiantian beast core was far from enough. A Xiantian beast core was not enough? Thinking that his saint's desolation physique was a bottomless pit, Long Ao's face revealed a deep sense of helplessness. "Master, if possible, I would like to refine a soul slave for you." Soul slave? Long Fu was very curious about the soul slave that Long Ao had been talking about. According to Long Fu, a soul slave refined with the help of the blood pool could be used to defend against enemies and would be very powerful. "Long Fu, what are the conditions for refining a soul slave?" "Master, the conditions for refining a soul slave are very simple. Master has to kill martial artists or spirit beasts and devour their souls. When the time comes, I will refine a soul slave. Once the refinement is successful, the soul slave's strength will increase by a third to double." Long Ao was not happy at all because he knew that it was not easy to kill powerful martial artists or spirit beasts. "Master, the minimum requirement for refining a soul slave is that the soul must be in the Xiantian realm." Sure enough, Long Ao did not continue to communicate with Long Fu because with his current strength, it was almost impossible for him to kill Xiantian martial artists or spirit beasts. It would be a lie to say that he did not want to refine a soul slave, but Long Ao knew his own limits, so he planned to leave the matter of refining a soul slave for another day. The Scarlet Flame Town was about 1,000 miles away from the Thundercloud City. Even if the Long family rode at full speed, it still took them 10 days to arrive. The Thundercloud City was a medium-sized city in the Heavenly Star Kingdom. The Martial Heaven continent had a total of 9 prefectures. The Tianzhou continent had 2 great empires, the Flame Empire and the Thunder Empire. Under those 2 empires, there were countless kingdoms. They were called subordinate kingdoms. The Heavenly Star Kingdom was one of the Thunder Empire's subordinate kingdoms. Scarlet Flame Town could not be compared to Thundercloud City. When the Long Clan's people saw the huge city walls in front of them, they all stood there stupidly, as if they could not wait any longer. Everyone entered in a single file. Longli, who was at the very back, shook his head helplessly and did not stop them. The Long family had their own foundation in Thundercloud City. The scale was very small, and even the courtyard they owned was very small. It couldn't be compared to the courtyard in Scarlet Fire Town, Long family's mansion. Long Yi, Long Li, Long Jin, Long Lin, and Long Hua were the 5 brothers. The second brother, Long Li, was in charge of the daily affairs of the Long family in Scarlet Fire Town, while the other 4 stayed in Thundercloud City to set up a foundation. hoping that the Long family could move into Thundercloud City on a large scale. Thundercloud City, the City Lord's mansion, the sixth-rank Long family, the Mu family, and the Duanmu family were the four pillars of the city. Together, they controlled everything in Thundercloud City. So if the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family wanted to move into Thundercloud City on a large scale, it was practically impossible. Longao's arrival made Mu Lin very happy. The mother and son talked for a few hours before Mu Lin reluctantly left. Aoer, this is a gold card. There are 10 million gold coins inside. I'm preparing to let you buy spirit-gathering pills yourself. Taking the gold card from his father, Long Ao clearly knew that this 10 million gold coins had come from selling the spirit beasts he had obtained. The rest had come from the family. 10 million gold coins could only buy one spirit-gathering pill. It was easy to imagine how valuable it was. Nodding, Long Ao didn't leave by himself. Instead, he brought Wang Yuyin, Long Zio, Long Ao, Long Zheng, Long Fong, Long Shi, and Long Qianqian to the Pill Alliance to buy spirit-gathering pills. Walking on the bustling street, Long Zio, Wang Yuyin, and Long Qianqian were dazzled. They didn't have the heart to continue buying spirit-gathering pills. Yuyin, you three stroll around. Once I buy spirit-gathering pills, we'll meet at the restaurant in front. Okay, you go. Don't worry about us. After saying that, Wang Yuyin and the other two rushed into the crowd. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. Long Zheng, Long Fong, Long An, and Long Shi followed Long Ao to the Pill Alliance. In the martial heaven continent, there was a kind of person above martial cultivators. That was the alchemists. Even if an alchemist wasn't a powerful martial cultivator, the pills they refined were things that every martial cultivator dreamed of obtaining. It was precisely because of this that no one dared to provoke a powerful alchemist. As long as an alchemist used spirit-gathering pills as a reward, there would be many people willing to risk their lives for them. The Pill Alliance was a 3-story building. It was completely white and gave off a noble and generous feeling. After entering the Dan Alliance, he saw that there were not many people in the huge hall. However, after thinking about it, he felt relieved. No matter what, the pills were too expensive. Not everyone could afford them. A single spirit-gathering pill cost 10 million gold coins. It was easy to imagine how expensive the other spirit-gathering pills were. Excuse me, is there anything I can help you with? An extremely beautiful woman with a sweet voice and a smile on her face asked very politely, I want to buy a spirit-gathering pill. How much would it cost? As if she was already used to this, she replied, Hello, one spirit-gathering pill costs 10 million gold coins. How many spirit-gathering pills do you need? How many? Long Ao waved his hand. A single essence-gathering pill had almost caused the Long family to go bankrupt, let alone a few. Even if the entire Long family was sold, they would not be able to afford a few essence-gathering pills. Please wait a moment. I'll go get some spirit-gathering pills for you. Looking at the departing beauty, Long Ao waved his hand in front of the four of them. He helplessly said, The four of you really are useless. If you don't properly cultivate, who knows what you're thinking every day. If you continue like this, it'll be very difficult for you to accomplish anything on the martial path. At this moment, the four of them no longer had the intention to ridicule and humiliate Long Ao. In fact, Long Ao was their idol. The four of them stuck out their tongues. Just as they were about to speak, a few youths came from not far away. The one in the lead had a gloomy and cold expression. It was obvious that he looked down on them. I was wondering why I felt so uncomfortable today. So it's because I met a few country bumpkins. Are you the disciples of the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family? Seeing these people, Long Zheng and the other three's faces turned ugly. But they still nodded and replied, Yes. F***CK. I knew it was the trash of the Scarlet Fire Town's Long family. Let me see. Big trash, little trash. Isn't this my aunt's trash son? What's your name again? Oh right, I remember now. I think it's Shi Ao or something. Chapter 24. Shi Ao? It was obvious that these people had deliberately called out Long Ao's name as Shi Ao. From head to toe, they revealed a deep contempt and disdain. And, in just an instant, Longao already knew the identity of these people. They were disciples of Thundercloud City's Mu family and also people from his mother's family. He didn't have a good impression of this Mu family. The Long family and Mu family were relatives and should have supported each other. But the result was that the Mu family had been constantly suppressing the Long family and even doing their best to prevent the Long family's business from entering Thundercloud City. Otherwise, the Long family's foundation wouldn't have entered Thundercloud City so slowly. Ninth brother, do you know whose dog this is? It's been released to randomly bite people. Longao, what did you just say? Say it again if you dare. The Mu family's 5 people were Mui Hong, a 9th-layer inner-strength martial artist. Mui Hao and Mu Qinglin were both 7th-layer inner-strength martial artists. As for Mu Yin and Mu Waner, they were both 6th-layer inner-strength martial artists. As one of the 4 giants of Thundercloud City, the Mu family's disciples were used to being arrogant and overbearing. Now that a small family from Scarlet Fire Town was talking back to them, where would their face go? 7th brother, let's go. Longin and the others were a bit worried. After all, the other side's identity was there. If they caused trouble, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves. Ha ha ha, trash will always be trash. Other than being afraid, all you can do is run. Let me tell you, I'm in a good mood today, so you better scram. Otherwise, I'll have to find someone to carry you out. Mui Hao's words immediately caused the surrounding crowd to burst into laughter. And at this time, the beautiful woman who had just left had already returned. In her hands was a small, exquisite wooden box. Without a doubt, the small wooden box contained the spirit-gathering pill. Wait, is your manager here? Young Master Mu, our manager is here. Go find him for me. Without waiting for Mui Hao to finish speaking, an extremely bloated man quickly walked down from the 2nd floor. All the flesh on his body was piled together like a rubber ball. Because there was too much flesh on his face, even his facial features could not be seen clearly. The fat man was the manager of Thundercloud City's Pill Alliance branch. Seeing the 2 sides looking at each other, the old and experienced fatty already knew what was going on. Young Master Mu, who made you angry? Uncle Fatty, I would like to ask you for a favor. Would you be willing to help me? Say it. Fatty was very magnanimous, with a heroic look on his face. Uncle Fatty, these pieces of trash from the Red Fire Town's Long clan want to buy essence-gathering pills. I would like to ask Uncle Fatty to help. Don't sell the essence-gathering pills to them, and from now on, as long as the Red Fire Town's Long clan comes to buy essence-gathering pills, we won't sell them. Is that okay? The strength of the Alchemy Guild was not something the Mu clan could compare with. However, the fatty was not a fool. He could tell which was more important between the Long clan of the Red Fire Town and the Mu clan of the Thundercloud City. It was not worth it to offend the Mu clan for a small Red Fire Town's Long clan. No problem. You can leave first. Yes, manager. Seeing the beauty take the essence-gathering pills away, Long Ao's expression finally changed. This was the result of a powerful family. As one of the 4 giants of Thundercloud City, the Mu clan could bully the Long clan as they wished. Even the Alchemy Guild had to give the Mu clan some face. If the Mu clan did not have the strength, the Alchemy Guild would not give them any face. If they did not have the strength, they could not buy essence-gathering pills even if they had the money. This was the reality. This was the law of survival in this world. All of you, listen up. Go back and tell your elders that from today onwards, the Alchemy Guild does not welcome you. No essence-gathering pills will be sold to you. Looking at the fatty and the Mu clan's disciples who were bullying others, the onlookers did not have the slightest sympathy or contempt. Instead, they were gloating as if they were used to such a scene. After all, those who could enter the Alchemy Guild to buy essence-gathering pills had some status. 7th brother, what should we do? Long Zhang and the others naturally knew the importance of essence-gathering pills to their 7th brother. Now that the Alchemy Guild did not sell essence-gathering pills to the Long clan, they were in big trouble. Waving his hand, Long Ao's expression did not look too good. He coldly looked at the crowd in front of him and suddenly said, Does the Alchemy Guild really think that only they can refine essence-gathering pills? Oh, Trash. Could it be that you can also refine essence-gathering pills? I can try. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Trash will always be trash. Even his words are so interesting. Hearing Longao's words, the crowd unscrupulously laughed. After all, refining essence-gathering pills was not that easy. In order to refine essence-gathering pills, one must first become an alchemist. And becoming an alchemist was not just about hard work and perseverance, it also required talent. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. The fatty also seemed to be a little interested. If you can refine essence-gathering pills, not only will I give you one free essence-gathering pill, I will also give you a heaven essence pill. It's a deal. The heaven essence pill was the most important essence-gathering pill. Its value was much higher than essence-gathering pills. But if you lose, not only will you have to hand over the 10 million gold coins in your hand, you will also have to kneel in front of the Alchemy Guild and kowtow in front of everyone. How about it? Sure, but only for a month. Good. I want to see how you can refine essence-gathering pills in a month. Seventh Brother. Hearing the bet between Seventh Brother and the Alchemy Guild, Longzheng and the others were completely dumbfounded. They did not know what was wrong with Seventh Brother at this moment. After all, it was not that easy to refine essence-gathering pills. Not giving them a chance to speak, Longao seemed to have made up his mind. 10 years of persistence, 10 years of persistence, 10 years of persistence had already honed his character to be more tenacious than the average person. Turning around, he prepared to go back and study the Tao of Alchemy. But at this time, Mui Hao suddenly reached out and stopped them. I don't care about the bet between you and the Alchemy Guild, but you just insulted me. Do you think I'll let it go just like that? Seeing that the other party did not speak, Mui Hao put on a righteous front and said magnanimously, for the sake of my aunt, I'll give you a chance. As long as you kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, I'll let you off for now. Otherwise, you'll really have to find someone to carry you out. Hearing this, Longshi, Longan, Longzheng, and Longfeng were so scared that they almost fell to the ground. However, they didn't dare to say anything. They could only look at Seventh Brother beside them, hoping that Seventh Brother would be able to avoid this calamity. Snorting coldly, Longao said in disgust, "Whose wild dog is this? Letting it out to bite people everywhere." Hearing that the other party did not care about him at all, Mui Hao was instantly enraged. He formed a palm with one hand and viciously slammed it towards Longao. Chapter 25. Mui Hao was a 7th firmament inner force martial artist. His strength was only average in the Mu clan. However, Mui Hao still underestimated his opponent. His strength was not enough. Coupled with his carelessness, he left quickly and returned even faster. Mui Hao was directly sent flying by Longao's palm. His body was like a kite with a broken string as he was thrown out fiercely. If Longao had not shown mercy, just this palm alone would have been enough to take Mui Hao's life. You're courting death. When Mui Hang saw his younger brother being beaten, he didn't think about anything else. He took a big stride forward and used his Thousand Suns palm. However, Mui Hang's fate was almost the same as Mui Hao's. He didn't even have the chance to react. He was also sent flying by the palm. This time, everyone was completely stunned. If Mui Hao was sent flying because of his carelessness, then what about Mui Hang? One had to know that Mui Hang was a true 9th firmament inner force martial artist. Since the opponent could send him flying with one palm, one could imagine his strength. Could it be that he was a 10th firmament inner force martial artist? At this moment, everyone's gaze towards Longao changed. Even the fatty was no exception. I'll be back in a month. Looking coldly at the 2 people who were lying on the ground, Longao said in an extremely cold voice, "Those who humiliate others will be humiliated by others." With that, Longao kicked Mui Hao and Mui Hang out of the Alchemy Guild. The other members of the Mu clan were so scared that they screamed and hurriedly chased after them. When Longao and the others came out, they found that the Mu clan had already disappeared without a trace. They dared to provoke the Mu clan. They're dead this time. Young and aggressive. With such talent, it would be a pity if they were killed. Ignoring the discussions around them, Longao and the others quickly left. In a restaurant that was neither big nor small, when Wang Yuan and the others finished listening to Long An's explanation of what had just happened, their faces turned grave. Wang Yuan said, "We will be in trouble if we offend the Mu clan. Don't worry. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Longao, why don't we leave Thundercloud City first and let Uncle deal with this matter?" Longao knew what Yuan meant. If he left, the Mu family would seek revenge. What would happen to his parents? What about the Long family? Why should he let others bear the consequences of his own actions? This matter ends here. Hurry up and eat. During this period of time, do not casually leave the clan. Got it, seventh brother. Yuan wanted to say something but hesitated. She knew Longao's character very well. Once he had decided on something, he would not change his mind under normal circumstances. Longao, what are you going to do about your 1-month agreement with the Alchemy Guild? Study the art of alchemy well. I don't believe that I can't refine the essence-gathering pill. Longao was not acting on impulse. He was also helping the Long family to advertise for free. After all, the Dan Alliance's influence was there. If he could really refine the spirit-gathering pill within a month, the Long family might instantly become famous. Other than that, he did not want his family to be controlled by others for the sake of a pill. He also did not want to be ridiculed by others. Sticking out her tongue, Long Qianqian said with admiration, "Seventh brother, you're really amazing. You guys eat first. I'm going to buy some books about the way of alchemy," Longao said, then got up and quickly left. There were many books on alchemy. After all, to become a qualified alchemist, talent accounted for 99% of the time. So alchemy books were all open to the public, unless it was some powerful pill. According to rumors, alchemists were divided into 9 levels. From level 1 to level 9, it cost 10,000 gold coins. Longao successfully bought the alchemy books. They included the basics of alchemy and various things to take note of. One of them was the method to refine the essence-gathering pill. After buying the alchemy books, Longao went directly to the medicine shop. He was ready to buy all the herbs needed to refine the essence-gathering pill and some ordinary pills. As soon as he stepped into the medicine shop, Longao saw familiar faces. He did not know if his luck was good or bad. First, he met the Mu family. Now, he met the person he had saved before. She was the so-called eldest daughter of the city lord's mansion, Lu Ji. He saw the two of them, and they saw him at the same time. "Miss, it's that trash." "Trash?" Hearing the maid's words, Longao's face was indifferent. But his voice was cold as he said, "If it wasn't for trash saving you, you would have been swallowed alive by the violent earth bear." Hearing this, the maid's face turned cold. She said with disdain, "Trash will always be trash. Other than boasting shamelessly, what else can you do? A dog relying on its master's power." Ignoring the two angry maids, Longao found the shop owner and told him the herbs he needed. At this time, Lu Ji suddenly said, "I heard about the agreement between you and the Alchemy Guild. If you want to refine the essence-gathering pill by yourself, I can only give you 2 words, wishful thinking." "Lu Ji, I've been wondering about something. I hope you can help me with it." "What is it?" Lu Ji seemed to be confused. "Don't tell me the people of the city lord's mansion have no manners? What did you say? I dare you to say it again. You're just a little maid. Just because you have the backing of the city lord's mansion, you dare to flaunt your strength? Let me give you a piece of advice. If you don't, sooner or later you will suffer retribution. I still have things to do, so I'll take my leave." Ignoring the two's murderous gazes, Longao quickly left with the herbs he bought. "Miss, this person is looking down on the city lord's mansion. Should we go back and report this to the city lord?" "No need. I don't want father to know about this." "Humph. If I use someone else to do my dirty work, I don't know if he can resist." Lu Ji's lips curled into a cruel smile as she watched the figure disappear into the distance. Back at the Long mansion. "Aoer, I heard you had a conflict with the Mu clan? You also made a 1-month agreement with the Alchemy Guild to refine the essence-gathering pill within a month?" As soon as Longao returned, he was dragged away by Long Yi and Mu Lin for interrogation. After all, This matter could be big or small. Both of them knew very well that with Mu Lin around, Mu Lin wouldn't go too far. But the Alchemy Guild's situation was different. Father, Mother, I will handle this matter myself. I will study alchemy later. I don't believe I can't refine the essence-gathering pill. Looking at the alchemy book in their son's hands, Long Yi and Mu Lin looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Refining the essence-gathering pill wasn't that easy. If everyone could refine the essence-gathering pill, then alchemists wouldn't be so high up and the pills wouldn't be so expensive. Eldest young master, eldest young mistress, the Mu clan just sent someone to send an invitation, saying that they are inviting eldest young master and eldest young mistress to bring young master Longao to the Mu clan as guests. Chapter 26. An invitation from the Mu clan? Long Yi and Mu Lin weren't fools. They knew why the Mu clan chose to invite them at this time. They sighed at how fast it came. It's better if you don't go this time. Of course, Longao knew that his parents were worried about him. They were afraid that he would be at a disadvantage if he went. However, he had to bear the consequences of his own actions. He couldn't let his parents bear the consequences of his actions. I have to go. Both of them knew their son's personality very well, so they didn't stop him. After arranging everything, the three of them left the Long clan and went to Mu Lin's home, the Mu clan. The Mu clan was one of the 4 giants of Thundercloud City. They were in charge of Thundercloud City together with the City Lord's Mansion, the Level 6 Long clan, and the Mu clan. As soon as the three of them stepped into the Mu clan, Mu Lin was greeted by the head of the Mu clan, Mu Wanfeng. It was rumored that after Mu Wanfeng's husband died, Mu Wanfeng supported the entire Mu clan as a woman. Not only did the clan not decline, but it also prospered day by day. There were even rumors that Mu Wanfeng was already a Xiantian realm martial artist. Long Yi and Long Ao entered the hall. The entire hall was already filled with people. At the head of the table were Mu Lin's 2 brothers, Long Ao's uncles, Mu Che and Mu Tian. One was a Xiantian realm martial artist, while the other was a Xiantian realm martial artist. Below them were Mu Feng, Mu Yong, Mu Yihong, Mu Yihao, Mu Yin, Mu Wan and Mu Chenglin. At this moment, Mu Yihao and Mu Yihong's faces were cold as they stared at Long Ao. They couldn't wait to bite him to death. These are your uncles. Why aren't you greeting them? Uncle, there's no need. How can I have such an amazing nephew? Long Ao, who had just called out a word, swallowed the remaining word back when he heard Mu Che's words. He said, Father, since they don't care, we don't have to do this. Shaolin's son is really arrogant. This is the first time I've seen you. Not bad, not bad. Mu Lin's second brother, Long Ao's second uncle, Mu Tian, said in a strange voice. Suddenly, Mu Tian's voice turned cold as he asked, Long Ao, I heard that you bullied Yihong and Yihao in broad daylight. Is that true? Long Ao was already prepared to denounce him. Excuse me, who did you hear this from? You don't have to ask. You just have to tell me, yes or no? So what if I am? So what if he wasn't? In any case, your family. No matter what you say, you're right. Since that's the case, why should I waste my breath? Don't mess around. Although Long Yi was angry at the actions of the Mu clan, he had more considerations than Long Ao. If they offended the Mu clan, the Long clan would find it even harder to do anything in Thundercloud City in the future. This is just a quarrel between children. There's no need to make such a big fuss. Long Yi, are you saying that you're siding with your son? Grabbing his father, Long Ao's voice was a bit cold as he asked, Then what do you want? Mu Tian snorted. His son was beaten up. Of course, he wouldn't let it go. He said coldly, Long Ao, we won't bully the weak. However, since you're so arrogant, I'll give you a chance. As long as you can defeat my 2 nephews, today's matter will be written off. Mu Feng, Mu Yong, the 2 of you should spar with your cousin properly. Go easy on him. Mu Feng and Mu Yong were brothers. Mu Che's 2 sons were considered top geniuses in the Mu clan. Both of them had reached the 10th layer of inner strength. If they worked together, they wouldn't be a match unless they met a Xiantian martial artist. Seeing this, Long Yi understood what the Mu clan wanted. He immediately said anxiously, "This seems a little unfair." "Fair? What do you mean by fair?" "Longy, let me tell you. Fairness is set by the strong. Your Long family isn't qualified. I'll give your son a chance now. If you choose to give up, then there's nothing I can do. However, if anything happens to your son, our Mu clan won't be responsible." Looking at his helpless father, Long Ao finally understood a principle at this moment. If he didn't want to be bullied and the Mu clan didn't look down on him, then he had to be strong. It wasn't just for himself, it was the same for the Mu clan. Strength. In the end, all of this was because he didn't have the strength. "I want to be super strong and trample all those who look down on me and the Long family under my feet." Long Ao kept telling himself in his heart. Gradually, even Long Ao didn't know that his state of mind was undergoing a subtle change. "Your Mu clan is going too far. I want to see the patriarch." "Ha ha ha, going too far? That's right. Our Mu clan is bullying your Long family." "So what? What temper do you have?" Before long, he could continue speaking. Long Ao had already taken a step forward and said firmly, "I accept. Both of you can come at me together." As he spoke, Long Ao turned around and left by himself. Mu Che and the others were delighted when they heard that Long Ao had finally accepted, especially Mui Hong and Mui Hao, who were beaten up. They didn't hesitate in the slightest and walked out in a single file, including Mu Feng and Mu Yong, who were preparing to fight. Outside the Mu clan's main hall, there were only 3 people in the enormous open space. Long Ao, Mu Yong, and Mu Feng stood facing each other. Both sides seemed to be preparing. The surroundings of the open space were already filled with people. It was unknown if the Mu clan did it intentionally, but practically all the disciples and servants of the Mu clan were present. All of them seemed as if they were watching a joke, and their faces were filled with disdain and ridicule. The trash of the Long family wanted to fight 2 people by himself? Was that possible? Was it realistic? Mu Feng sneered as he lightly shook the finger on his right hand and said, "Trash is trash. I'll tell you later what trash should do, but I can give you a chance and allow you to use a weapon. But don't worry, we'll fight barehanded and absolutely won't use a weapon." Disdain. Mu Feng and Mu Yong utterly didn't talk about how shameless their joint forces were, and they would only look down on each other. But this was the Mu clan, so no one would laugh at the 2 of them, and they would only look down on and ridicule Long Ao. "I don't need to use a weapon. If I accidentally kill both of you, then the Mu clan would have 2 less shameless people." Ha ha ha. Unbridled ridicule sounded out from the surroundings when they heard this, and it was as if they'd heard the most laughable thing in the world. "Long Ao, you don't have to be arrogant before us. If you're really able to kill us with a weapon, then we can die without regrets. Even the Mu clan wouldn't take revenge on you and the Long family. But the precondition is that you're really able to accomplish it. The Mu clan really won't take revenge? They won't. I represent the Mu clan to officially inform you that no matter if you live or die in this battle, the Mu clan and Long family won't hold each other accountable, and you're not allowed to take revenge. If any of the clans offend each other, then they'll surely suffer the calamity of annihilation." Mu Tian spoke coldly, and his voice spread throughout the entire Mu clan. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.